A voice from off-panel asks if the rumors of the legendary blacksmith have reached them. The armored man, looking down with a stern expression, seems to be the one speaking. His companion, a bald, muscular man, questions, legendary blacksmith? What's that? The armored man explains that the blacksmith crafts unparalleled, unique, and legendary items, then sells them off, adding that he's a huge money grubber. The bald man dismisses the money-grubbing blacksmith as nothing new, but the armored man reminds him that good items require good materials. He continues, explaining that to acquire such materials, one must trade with high rankers, yet no such traders exist. The conversation shifts to the Tzedakah Guild, which once knew the blacksmith's whereabouts, but since its dissolution, the trail has gone cold. What then? The bald man asks. Amidst a backdrop of dark, swirling clouds and monstrous forms, the armored man suggests the blacksmith might hunt for materials himself. A dense horde of monstrous creatures, their forms jagged and armored, swarms across a desolate landscape, their glowing red eyes piercing the gloom. Their massive, clawed limbs churn the earth, each step a tremor as they advance. Their grotesque heads, adorned with horns and sharp teeth, are a terrifying sight. The sheer scale of their numbers suggests an overwhelming force, a tide of destruction. As if that could be possible, a deep, dark chasm opens up beneath them, its depths shrouded in mist and shadow. A powerful, swirling wind whips through the abyss, carrying an unseen force. Suddenly, a female warrior, her long red braids flying behind her, leaps into the void, a curved blade already drawn and glinting in her hand. She plummets downward, her gaze fixed on the monstrous horde below, her descent swift and determined. Without hesitation, she lands amidst the creatures, her blade already carving a path through their ranks as the battle begins. The unnamed warrior, alongside other hunters, continues her fierce assault, their combined attacks erupting in fiery bursts against the colossal monster. But the beast is far from defeated, lashing out with a powerful, sweeping strike that forces the warrior to evade through trails of green energy. Its monstrous face contorts in a silent roar, glowing red eyes fixed on its prey. Meanwhile, observing the chaos from a distance, Jinwoo clenches his teeth, a frustrated thought escaping him. Damn it, those bastards. Are they thinking of leaving me behind and hunting alone? Unaware of his presence, the female warrior descends rapidly from the moonlit sky, a swift, silent blur. A soft, blue glow emanates from Jinwoo as he watches, a calm, calculating expression replacing his earlier frustration. Well, he murmurs. His gaze sweeps over the horde of monsters below, a predatory glint in his eyes. Isn't this place just full of good materials? Back in the chasm, the warrior moves with lethal grace, her curved blade a silver arc as she engages the smaller creatures. One monster recoils, its maw open in a silent scream as blue energy flares around it. He descends, a massive blade of crackling blue energy forming in his grasp. Plunging into the swarming horde below, he moves with blinding speed. A devastating blue shockwave erupts from him, tearing through the monstrous forms. The raw power of the attack expands, shattering everything in its path. With a final, resounding crack, the monsters are instantly annihilated, leaving only dust and debris in their wake. He lands amidst the settling rubble, the silence of destruction echoing around him. His gaze sharpens, and a crimson glow ignites in his palm, another surge of power gathering. With a fierce burst, he unleashes a wave of searing red energy. The crimson force rips through the remaining creatures, leaving nothing but ruin. A devastating impact of crimson energy rips through the air, the force of it echoing with a guttural roar. Elsewhere, a figure in gleaming golden armor delivers a brutal blow to a woman, sending her reeling back with a pained gasp, a dismissive thought about a rising mage and the sheer bullshit of it all flashing through his mind. He then turns his attention to a different task, his hand reaching for a weapon, a determined resolve hardening his voice as he declares, "Now then, this time." Standing amidst a field of countless swords plunged into the earth, he ponders his next move, a silent question of what should I use, hanging in the air, a consequence of his past actions. His gaze sweeps over the array of blades, until one particular hilt catches his eye, a blade with a bad story from a blacksmith, and a faint smile touches his lips as he remarks, "Oh, you look nice." As his fingers close around the hilt, a memory surfaces, the sword itself a stark reminder of my first failure. As a monstrous creature lunges with snapping jaws, Jinwoo reacts instantly, a thought flashing through his mind. Before the beast can connect, he parries its attack with a glowing blade, a smirk playing on his lips, thinking, "How nice of them to come to me first." The weapon hums with raw power, and he spins in midair, preparing a devastating follow-up strike. A blinding flash erupts as his attack connects, a confident, almost predatory smile spreading across his face. He holds his twin blades, assessing their impact, musing, time to test out the performance of these twins. The monster lets out a guttural scream of agony, violently thrown backward by the sheer force of the blow. The force of his attack lands with a resounding AK. The impact echoes once more AK. A focused gaze looks upward, the dark eyes reflecting an unseen challenge. The destination is clear, the Cork Island dungeon, 4th floor. Among those gathered, a formidable warrior stands out, known as the 16th in the unified ranks, Peak Sword. Only 5 minutes remain. He is accompanied by 8 high rankers and 200 elite members of the Silver Knights Guild. Despite their overwhelming numbers and strength, a flicker of nervousness crosses his face. They stand before the imposing structure of the dungeon's 4th floor, a place where only the strongest could hope to survive, preparing to face the monstrous gate. They had suffered greatly through the last 5 battles, investing immense resources and training to reach this point. With only 4 minutes remaining until the confrontation, he reflects on their extensive investments, acknowledging that the monsters they faced were undoubtedly stronger than anticipated. Suddenly, a shout echoes through the cavern, announcing an intruder, which elicits a surprised query from his companion. The entire guild turns, their gazes fixed on the dark entrance where the disturbance originated. Standing alone in the shadowy opening, a solitary figure cloaked in black emerges. As the guild leader stares at the newcomer, a question hangs heavy in the air. Who is it? The cloaked figure's sharp, dark eyes meet their collective gaze, a determined expression etched on his face. From behind, the cloaked figure surveys a massive, ornate structure, while a voice filled with disbelief remarks on his lack of visible weaponry, noting he carries nothing but the cloak itself. As the cloaked figure stands before them, the armored speaker questions how he could have bypassed their defensive troops so easily. A thought crosses his mind, wondering if this intruder is a highly trained assassin. The cloaked figure, however, dismisses the idea, knowing an assassin would never reveal themselves so readily, even as a system grid appears before him. Meanwhile, the armored speaker attempts to search for the intruder's user information within the system, only to find there are no registered users by the name Grid, leaving him perplexed and unable to easily identify the cloaked man. He concludes that the lack of a registered name means the intruder isn't a recognized ranker. The bald listener expresses his disbelief that a non-ranker could infiltrate their position, suggesting their door guards have grown complacent. The cloaked figure then addresses them directly, acknowledging their surprise at his presence, but warning them that an important battle is about to begin, urging them to retreat if they wish to live. He internally muses about his attack suddenly disappearing, attributing it to something called Hell Jail. As the guild members stand ready, a massive number, 999, flashes into view, signaling the imminent arrival of countless foes. He stands before them, now clad in an entirely new, formidable armor, its dark plates gleaming with an ominous sheen, drawing gasps of disbelief from the surrounding knights. The armor itself seems to be a living entity, with a segmented, tail-like appendage extending from its back, a unique and unsettling sight that leaves them utterly bewildered. The armored speaker, his face a mask of shock, can only utter a bewildered question, wondering aloud about the origin of such an impossible suit. Sung Jinwoo, however, simply stares down at their stunned faces, his voice cutting through the silence, demanding to know why they are all just standing there, while one of the knights, recovering from his stupor, shouts for the intruder to be removed. But before they can react, he raises a hand, a brilliant blue energy flaring around it, sending a wave of shock through the assembled knights. The blue light intensifies, transforming into a searing, orange flame that erupts from his palm, a knight crying out in alarm as the power manifests. A whooshing sound fills the air as Sung Jinwoo is engulfed in the inferno, and from the swirling flames, shadowy figures begin to emerge, their forms coalescing around him. He stands at the center of a raging firestorm, surrounded by his newly summoned shadows, a terrifying king to the monsters who now believe him to be their sovereign. The system confirms the devastating impact of his ability, declaring that Hell Jail's roar has applied fear, chaos, and debilitating effects upon his enemies. He descends from above, a blur of motion, unleashing a torrent of Hell Jail's fire that instantly reduces the heat resistance of everything it touches by half. As he lands, the ground erupts in towering pillars of flame, a devastating manifestation of Hell Jail's power. Engulfed in the inferno, shadowy figures begin to coalesce and rise from the swirling fire, their presence sending a chilling wave through the air. The knights scatter, their terrified screams echoing across the battlefield, overwhelmed by the sudden, brutal display of force. They stumble and recoil, their formations breaking apart in disarray, unable to comprehend the sheer magnitude of the attack. From a distance, the armored speaker watches the chaos unfold, a grim realization dawning on him. A single flame from this ability was enough to incapacitate half of their guild. He quickly processes the system's data, noting the 50% increase in fire damage and the corresponding reduction in heat resistance, understanding that this is the Hell Jail's roar ability, specifically designed to draw the attention of the shadows. Amidst the swirling shadows and dying embers, Sung Jinwoo stands tall, his presence radiating an undeniable, terrifying power. The armored speaker's eyes widen in disbelief, realizing the flames are potent enough to melt even their reinforced plate armor, leaving him speechless at the destructive potential. Even amidst the raging inferno and the monstrous horde, the young hunter remains completely unharmed. Armored speaker observes, a flicker of surprise crossing his face as his companion, bald listener, lets out a gasp of disbelief. With a determined expression, armored speaker raises his massive scythe, its sharp edge glinting under the chaotic light. prompting bald listener to question if he's truly considering using a mere pickaxe, a notion that draws a frustrated sigh from armored speaker. Meanwhile, Jinwoo continues his relentless assault, effortlessly collecting monster cores even as he stands surrounded by the scorching flames. Armored speaker vents his frustration, wondering why the monsters only appear after the boss has vanished, while bald listener laments the increasing difficulty of their labor. As Jinwoo dispatches another creature, a thought crosses his mind. He might need to upgrade his own pickaxe after witnessing this display of power. Suddenly, armored speaker's body ignites with a brilliant, golden aura, raw power surging through him. And with a mighty swing of his scythe, he unleashes a devastating explosion, tearing through the remaining monsters. A powerful impact ripples through the air, and armored speaker watches, his voice filled with disbelief, as the direct hit lands. The fiery explosion engulfs the target, a force so immense that he thinks no one would ever be able to. But through the inferno, Jinwoo stands completely unfazed, prompting a shocked cry. He's totally fine. His stance remains firm. As armored speaker and bald listener observe the impossible, the former asking, "Can you do something about him?" It was not an attack. Now it's about to get worse. Armored speaker's expression tightens, a question forming on his lips. "How are you?" He grips his scythe tighter, before answering his own unspoken thought. "Well, nothing great." As two shadowy figures surge forward, Jinwoo meets their advance with a calm, unwavering gaze, ready for whatever comes next. To put it simply, the armored hunter explains. As the bald man looks on with a furrowed brow, while Jinwoo remains calm and collected. He then clarifies, it's the item effect. In a world where a few elite players dominated, a virtual reality game known as Satisfy held hidden content, a world within a world, with its own secrets waiting to be uncovered. With over 2 billion users, many days went unnoticed, but certain places, like the fantastical floating islands, were ripe for discovery, each one a potential end to a new adventure. Deep within the game lay a dormant dungeon, the deepest area in the entire world, stacked with treasures and dangers, waiting for a user to stumble upon its wealth. A golden sword and a green bow, among other riches, lay untouched, until one user would come and claim them. Just an hour prior, a figure surrounded by glowing blue particles exclaimed, "I found it." He stares at the legendary items, a golden sword and a green bow, the words echoing in his mind. "Wake up, you're here to earn part of the money." Or perhaps, he could simply sell them for a clean profit. A legendary class, a fortune easily made, his life was set. Gaming had always been his only confidence, but since inheriting this body within the game, his life had changed. Now upon a gold mine, he reflects on a past where even his own parents considered him a waste of space. But that was all over now. He could finally bid farewell to his old life. Mother, father, sister, he had done it. Their firstborn son had struck gold, pure gold, and he was going to sell it all. With a triumphant grin, he moves to log out, but the system responds with an unexpected message. He couldn't log out of the game at this moment, leaving him utterly confused. He finds himself immediately on the defensive as a towering armored guardian lunges, its form crackling with blue energy. Jinwoo attempts to counter, calling out a stun skill, hoping to trip it up. A burst of pink and purple energy erupts as his skill connects. But his eyes widen in disbelief as the guardian remains unfazed, realizing his stun didn't work. Before he can react, a powerful blow sends him reeling backward, the impact echoing through the dungeon, knowing he can't beat this creature with his current skills. Even as a level 100 player, this is a level 120 dungeon, and he still has a long way to go. A wave of frustration washes over him, wishing he could use his full array of skills here, so many he wants to try out. He clutches a book in his hand, a sudden thought striking him. If he dies here, what happens to the books? Will they disappear as well? The terrifying possibility that his hard-won items might vanish from his inventory sends a chill down his spine. Trapped and desperate, he realizes there's only one way to log out of this perilous situation. Meanwhile, his companion, the armored speaker, shouts in alarm, urging someone to stop him from interacting with the mysterious book. But it's too late. Jinwoo has already seized the glowing skill book, determined to claim its power. A surge of blue energy engulfs him, the system warning that this opportunity will only come once. He is then presented with a stark choice: accept the hidden class, or risk losing all his skill books and items upon a system reset. The system confirms his decision, declaring him a hidden class descendant. A blue glow emanates from his arm as he contemplates his new S-class labor class, feeling a profound sense of destiny. Elsewhere, the armored speaker, observing the unfolding events, finds a twisted satisfaction in Jinwoo's suffering, while the bald listener looks on in shock. In a completely different setting, a cloaked figure stands victorious over a fallen foe, ready to continue their quest. As the final challenge concludes, a surge of power courses through him. Jinwoo feels the trial's end, a system message confirming his new title, one who overcame adversity. Blue lightning crackles around his body, his eyes glowing with an intense, otherworldly light, the raw energy of his transformation manifesting visibly. With a determined expression, he grips his dagger, the system announcing his immediate ascent to level 7. Meanwhile, far from the dungeon's depths, in a secure facility, The true implications of Jinwoo's class change were being analyzed, according to official reports. The armored speaker confirms the event occurred just 5 minutes prior, prompting the bald listener to acknowledge and prepare to investigate immediately. Reflecting on the news, the bald listener murmurs about the profound change. His thoughts drift to a deeper, unsettling truth, a realization that the dungeon is a lie. A harsh system message flashes before him, declaring his failure to clear the dungeon and the deduction of 2 levels, leaving his current level at a shocking -1. Jinwoo can only utter a stunned, drawn-out, "Well." His mind races, a frustrated thought echoing, "What the hell? You really ran after me all along." He curses the difficulty, even of these supposedly safe dungeons, before a wry realization dawns on him. It's a game, though. As a faint blue glow surrounds him, he closes his eyes, a quiet mantra escaping his lips, "Eat well and live." The scene shifts abruptly, the dark dungeon replaced by the quiet, illuminated windows of a modern apartment building under a night sky, a stark contrast to the chaos he just endured. Inside, Jinwoo sits at a table, his expression one of utter shock as an unseen voice dismissively mutters, "Bah," followed by a more amused, "This is so much fun." Behind him, a shadowy figure with piercing red eyes looms, its words cutting through the air as Jinwoo stares, wide-eyed, at a frying pan in his hands. "1,000,001. I could have made so much mondash." He stares down at the mysterious figure, a chilling question echoing in his mind. "Do you know what this is?" Meanwhile, high above the city streets, the towering structure of Satisfice Operations Office, home to the SA Group, gleams under the urban lights. Inside, a man in a sharp suit observes a sleek, futuristic vehicle, its polished surface reflecting the soft glow of the garage. Approaching him, Choi Mahi, the operations team leader, offers a respectful greeting. "Welcome back, sir." Lim Keel-ho turns to her, his expression serious, inquiring, "You said someone changed their class 5 minutes ago?" Choi Mahi's surprise is evident as she replies, "I never knew this would happen, even once." She then directs a question to a bald man nearby. "Have you reviewed the field report, team leader?" This is Lim Keel-ho, the SA Group's lead developer of Satisfy, his gaze fixed on the unfolding data. A visual representation of the game appears, showing an armored figure with glowing red eyes, as a voice explains, Bro, while he was playing a game, he was suddenly transported to another world. Suddenly, he's gained secret requests and even skills from game books." The discussion continues, detailing the player's incredible feats. He's defeated hundreds in a city for about a year. For 3 months, he's experienced real-life raids with monsters of 200 levels, and he's grown 10 times throughout the process. Although you've told us to examine the data carefully, the situation is difficult to explain, but it seems a player was transported to another world, where they gained new skills and secret requests. Lim Keel-ho, the lead developer, continues to explain the unprecedented circumstances to Choi Mahi, who listens intently. She questions, "Does even Morpheus think this happened by chance?" He responds, "As team leader, this is a bit frustrating." Choi Mahi expresses her disbelief. "Hey, Chance? That's funny." Lim Keel-ho clarifies, "As you know, team leader, if we follow the calculations made by the supercomputer Morpheus." He continues, "The North End Cave and Pagma's descendant discovery date should happen 2 years later." Choi Mahi looks at a monitor displaying data, her thoughts echoing. But not only did that get discovered 2 years early, he's also the appointed quest holder. Location, quest item. Can you really write this off as chance? Lim Keel-ho then adds, "One more thing as well. His minus level." A visual representation of the player, Jinwoo, appears distressed, as the lead developer explains that for some reason, the player had been given a minus level, meaning he quickly goes up in level, but also quickly goes down. Since he went minus, the standard login penalty for being below level 1 instantly applies. Lim Keel-ho concludes, "Normally, players at level 10 or below don't lose additional experience points on death, but now he's at level -1. Outside a building bearing the name Mr. Shin Young-woo, a hand holds a paper, confirming the address. Inside, a bald man grabs Jinwoo's shoulder, instructing him to listen up, student Young-woo. He continues, urging Jinwoo to go get your pay for the work you did this morning. Let's all just hurry up and go home. Jinwoo offers a quiet apology, while the bald man asks his colleague, "You said the kid is a game addict?" The colleague, a man with light brown hair, responds bluntly, "He looks and smells like shit." He elaborates on Jinwoo's reputation, describing him as a terrible hunter who's always getting injured. He's the only one who's ever gone down with at least a single minor injury. And yet, for a kid to be a father at such a young age. Later that night, walking away from the building, Jinwoo counts his earnings, noting that this is enough for today's living expenses. He reflects on his past, thinking, "So I think that the first thing that saved my life was a game." He then recalls a past conversation, hearing the words, "You should be grateful, you absolute doll." As he continues walking, a book in his hand, he muses, "That book alone could have changed my whole life. But here I am, still counting millions of one blocks." He lies on a park bench, gazing up at the sky, the city's vastness stretching out above him, thinking about how much he still has to do. As a car speeds past, its engine roaring, he remains lost in thought. Meanwhile, in a sleek vehicle, Lim Keel-ho drives, musing that there's nothing particularly special about the man he's observing. The executive watches another car pass, a faint smile playing on his lips as he considers the hunter's situation. Jinwoo sits up, his expression heavy with resignation, wondering if there's anything he's truly good at. He takes a long gulp from a can, the liquid offering little comfort as he ponders his lack of talent. With a frustrated crunch, he crushes the empty can in his hand, declaring that this is enough. His eyes now alight with renewed resolve, he decides to try the game one more time. Back in his car, Lim Keelho smiles, acknowledging that the young man never knows when to quit. An armored warrior kneels, proclaiming his long-awaited moment. Sung Jinwoo processes the revelation that this is a ranking dungeon, meaning all within are of similar, formidable strength. He questions the very nature of the game, wondering if it intends his demise, as a chilling, guttural cry reverberates through the space. The source of the sound is a monstrous, horned figure, seated on a dark throne, its eyes burning with malevolent red light, surrounded by smaller, cloaked entities. Nearby, a robed mage begins to channel arcane energy, purple lights swirling around their hands, while more hooded figures stand guard. Observing from a hidden vantage point, Jinwoo understands the dire situation. Even a minor injury from these creatures would be fatal. Another cloaked figure, its eyes glowing crimson, watches silently. Donning new, reinforced gear, he resolves to navigate the perilous dungeon, confident he can avoid detection. Suddenly, a sharp, unexpected sound makes him flinch. A sudden, powerful kick sends a wave of blue energy through the air as he reacts to the unexpected presence. A woman with long purple hair addresses him, asking, "Hey kid, calm down. Who were you trying to kill, huh?" She then introduces herself. "I'm a secret agent under Mr. Stein's command. My name's Doran." Observing her, he muses, "Judging by how much mana she has, I'd say that you're not far off, Doran." The dungeon's oppressive atmosphere is punctuated by the sight of a massive, gnarled tree, its dark trunk riddled with cavernous holes. Doran, her eyes glowing with purple light as she holds a shimmering orb, continues their conversation. "So, what you're saying is, the reason I'm stuck in the dungeon is the same as you then?" She adds, with a hint of disbelief. "What? She got trapped while traveling on vacation." He admits, "Although this is a tough situation, it's nice to have a person by my side." A soft chime sounds, drawing his attention, and he questions, "What was that?" A system message appears before him, clarifying the dungeon's rules. You must help the listening player. You can only leave the dungeon once you have cleared the entire dungeon with a listening player. Another message follows, another A-ranker quest. He was a B-ranker. He looks at Doran, asking, "Who's that? And you?" Turning back to Doran, he observes, "Most people usually become drenched with fear, but seeing as how you're fine, you must be strong." He then reflects on the unexpected turn of events. "If I hadn't met him, I wouldn't have had to apologize." An additional ability had manifested, but with it came impossible points that couldn't be allocated, and an abnormal condition that drastically reduced his recovery speed. He knew he should study the ins and outs of his class book, but his mind drifted to a memory, a plea from a bald man to the armored speaker who believed a warrior like him could help. The bald man admitted he'd only ever been a burden, thanking the armored speaker for past assistance. Yet, in his memory, he heard himself think, "But I'm not going to help you." The bald man's desperate silence hung heavy as the armored speaker's voice echoed in his mind. "Let's do it." But the internal refusal was firm. "Not gonna." He remembered the cold logic, the justification he'd given himself. "It ain't my problem. I'm in the region because I'm getting paid to be here, not to help people out." The bald man's voice, filled with anguish, cut through the memory. "Aren't you a person who can handle dark energy? I can't do this all on my own. I beg you." He knew the truth of that moment, the reason for his refusal. "You and I are the same. That's all. If I help you, I'll become level -1. The bald man's pleas grew more desperate. "Please help me. My family's life is in grave danger." The armored speaker's voice, however, remained unyielding. "Even so, how many times do I need to tell you that I can't help you?" The bald man accused. "Stop lying. I saw you use your strength, only to be met with a firm denial." "No, I'm not." The memory faded, leaving him with a look of deep regret and internal conflict, the weight of that past decision still heavy on his shoulders. He stands amidst the fallen, their dark robes and crimson stains painting a grim tableau. Suddenly, a system message flashes before his eyes, announcing a new quest and a title earned, granting him an unexpected boost to his stats. The armored speaker turns to him, acknowledging their shared predicament, and states that since they are now hostile with the Yarian temple, they are in the same boat. He suggests they simply accept their fate with grace. The man grips his dagger, his expression resolute, reiterating that there is no point in complaining. He declares his intention to forge a path forward, leaving the rescue of the young lady to his companion. With that, the armored figure charges headlong into the approaching horde of dark-robed enemies, pointing out the maiden's room. Their skeletal faces and glowing red eyes are a chilling sight, as one of them stares directly ahead. As the armored speaker charges ahead, he too leaps into the fray, a determined grin spreading across his face as he descends upon the shadowy horde, glowing blue energy trailing from his movements. The armored speaker acknowledges the bald listener, expressing gratitude for his presence. He then declares that their mission to bring down the cult of the false light begins now. Meanwhile, within the cult's grand hall, a robed speaker addresses a gathering of cultists, proclaiming their intent to kill all of the heretics and fulfill their desires through the souls of the universe. Observing the scene, the armored speaker notes the cultists' growing numbers, remarking on the powerful magic they seem to possess. Suddenly, a heretic lunges forward, unleashing a potent purple energy blast that strikes Doran, sending her reeling back with a cry of pain. As Doran struggles to recover, the heretic prepares another spell, their hands glowing with dark energy. Before the attack can land, the armored speaker charges in, his sword flashing, cutting down the heretic with a decisive strike. Doran, now recovering, explains to the armored speaker that the cultists are surprisingly strong, and that she is pretty useless in this situation. The armored speaker, however, reassures her, telling her to cheer him on as he takes the lead. Still reeling from the previous encounter, Doran looks up as the armored speaker offers words of encouragement, declaring her his light and hope, while the bald listener expresses his admiration. However, the cultist, shrouded in a menacing purple aura, interrupts their moment, vowing to crush their souls and absorb them into their god's light until they cease to exist. The cultist's dark energy swells, the purple aura expanding ominously. With a guttural cry, the cultist unleashes a torrent of dark magic. His face contorted in a sneer, glowing red eyes fixed on his opponent, he taunts, proclaiming this is the fate of all heretics who flutter around like flies. A dark orb of concentrated power forms in his hand, ready to strike. But the armored speaker's resolve hardens, a brilliant blue aura flaring around him as he raises his sword, retracting his previous words of hope for Doran, instead declaring himself her steady shadow. His eyes glow with fierce determination, a golden light emanating from his form, as he vows to always carry out his duties to the end, especially against those who reject the faith. Breaking through the oppressive darkness, the armored speaker charges forward, a beacon of light in the shadow he embodies. A sudden surge of dark energy crackles through the air, causing Jinwoo to instinctively react, his hand clenching as he realizes an incantation is underway. Meanwhile, the cultist's voice echoes with chilling conviction, declaring that those who defy the heavens will face dire consequences, a statement that draws a grim expression from the armored speaker and the bald listener. Unwilling to let the threat escalate, the armored speaker surges forward, his body enveloped in a brilliant blue aura as he vows to grant no second chances. He presses his attack with fierce determination, asserting that this battle is his to win. As the armored speaker continues his assault, the bald listener watches, a wry smile spreading across his face as he muses about his lucky day. Elsewhere, Jinwoo's gaze sharpens, his expression a mix of concern and resolve. With a burst of glowing energy around his legs, he moves to intercept, determined to stop the ritual, wondering if this is part of his S-ranked quest. Meanwhile, a dark-robed female cultist appears, her red eyes fixed on Doran as she expresses disbelief that a named NPC, like Doran, could be her enemy. Doran, caught off guard, looks back in surprise, lamenting that she hasn't even had time to exchange IDs. A woman with striking yellow eyes and long dark hair looks directly forward, her voice firm as she asks for permission to fight. She introduces herself as Yura, a level 1 entity with basic statistics. A system message flashes, revealing a failed quest. Rescue the Earl's Septimus daughter Leo, a mission that ended in failure due to insufficient levels. A new presence emerges, the Master of Black Magic, Yura, an SSS-class mage considered the strongest player from South Korea. A global sensation, she frequently appears on television screens, renowned for both her striking beauty and formidable talent. Observing the unfolding situation, Sung Jinwoo muses on the unexpected turn of events, thinking this quest, which he initially believed would be easy, might actually prove to be quite enjoyable. Known as a master among all black magicians, Yura single-handedly surpasses standard limitations, wielding an astounding combination and control of magic. As her power manifests, a shocked thought echoes through the space. Why the hell is she here? Her gaze falls upon him, a silent acknowledgement passing between the two powerful figures. Suddenly, Jinwoo recoils with a sharp cry, as Yura's voice cuts through the air, demanding to know if he is the one who cleared this dungeon quest. A crimson aura flares around her as Yura explains this secluded place was perfect for testing her skills, away from prying eyes. While in another part of the dungeon, a warrior in gleaming plate armor, wielding a massive broadsword, taunts his opponent, noting the man's expensive gear and calling it a difficult fight for most players. Jinwoo, observing this exchange, acknowledges the warrior's high rank, but finds his arrogance grating. He internally scoffs at the warrior's cockiness, recognizing him as a named NPC who shouldn't be so easily defeated by a ranker. Back with Yura, her voice softens slightly, revealing she had actually intended to ask for help. Jinwoo, still processing her words, looks at her with a puzzled expression as she continues to speak. The armored warrior, ignoring his opponent's plea, offers a chilling warning, telling him to step back if he wants to avoid getting hurt. Then, with a swift, powerful strike, the warrior lunges, his sword leaving a blue trail as it connects with the bald man, sending him reeling. Yura, her gaze still fixed on Jinwoo, remarks that such a boastful statement is typical of a named NPC, but she finds it deeply irritating. The armored warrior unleashes a torrent of purple magic, slamming into the bald man, who recoils from the impact, a thought escaping him about the weakness of his body and his luck. The magic continues to push him back, the armored warrior sneering, as if I gave a damn if your body could hold me. The purple energy solidifies into sharp tendrils, impaling the bald man. Despite the grievous wounds, the bald man roars, "Let me return the favor," and lunges forward, landing a powerful punch on the armored warrior's face. The armored warrior barely flinches, his red eyes glowing as he remarks, "You would have already used a considerable amount of stamina. How impressive," even as more tendrils erupt from his body, piercing the bald man again. He stands tall, confident, declaring, "I have enough strength to deal with bastards like you." From a distance, Yura watches the brutal display, commenting, "That's where she was really attracting attention," while an unseen voice adds, "You can thank me later." The armored warrior presses his advantage, the tendrils tightening their grip as he promises, "I'll make that strong body of yours a little weaker by draining out all of your blood." The bald man lets out a guttural scream as the tendrils tear through him, his body racked with agony. Still impaled by the dark tendrils, he screams in agony, his tormentor sneering that he's as good as dead, while the injured man retorts that if his opponent dies, he's done for too. Meanwhile, a narration box explains that the skill being prepared is an advanced one, consuming 30% of her mana, and with it, the target is done for. Purple energy crackles around her, swirling into a potent aura as she channels the spell. Her hand glows with intense magical power, the armored warrior's voice echoing, questioning if she's truly an advanced black magician, then challenging her to witness the strength of a young mage who has only fought for 100 years with her body. A narration box details the skill, Memory's Fall, an ability that renders the target's memory of the caster's combatant's attacks useless for a short period, as the armored warrior exclaims in disbelief, wondering how she forcibly used a level 120 memorized skill. The armored warrior looks stunned, while Jin Woo, observing the scene, wonders if the bald man is all right. The armored warrior then credits the healing potions Jin Woo provided, calling them quite special, explaining that while its protection is active, it will shield him from her attacks and aid his recovery. He remarks on Jin Woo's firm conviction. Jin Woo, seeing the situation, internally acknowledges that the skill isn't all-powerful and resolves to act quickly, deciding it's time to push the armored warrior back, harder. The air crackles with vibrant, blue magical energy. As a powerful spell continues to unfold, Doran observes the unfolding chaos, a thought forming in her mind. He's tougher than I thought. Even considering her ultimate technique, the last foray. She knows she must keep her true strength hidden, ensuring her opponent doesn't realize she's the highest-ranking mage. The only unknown in her calculations is the warrior standing nearby. Elsewhere, Yura watches in disbelief as the cult mages, seemingly defeated, reform their ranks. The armored speaker, startled, turns to Jin Woo, exclaiming that the cult mages have reappeared. Jin Woo, however, finds himself impressed by the display of power, deciding not to interfere with the efforts of another, yet wondering who could possibly stand against such magic. Doran, meanwhile, prepares a potent spell, a dark purple orb of energy coalescing in her hand, acknowledging the immense power she's about to unleash, but knowing she can't hold back any longer. Doran's eyes glow with fierce resolve. "Now it's really over," she declares, her voice echoing with the power of her ultimate spell, which consumes mana at maximum speed. As a vortex of dark, swirling energy erupts from her, manifesting as violent, crimson slashes that tear through the air. The armored speaker watches, his face contorted in disbelief, barely able to utter, "It's OV." Doran stands amidst the dissipating red energy, the raw power of her magic still lingering in the air. "That was a bit too much to use inside this temple," she muses, looking at the devastation. "Oh well, at least they're gone for good." The armored speaker and Jin Woo stand side by side, silently observing the aftermath of the overwhelming magical assault. How could someone this strong exist, someone she doesn't even know? The sheer power leaves Yura reeling, demanding to know who this person is. Amidst a swirling mass of shadowy creatures, a figure moves with desperate speed, blue energy flaring around him as he fights. Suddenly, a status window flashes into his vision, revealing a critical detail. His health has dropped to a single point. He acknowledges the hit, but a deeper realization begins to dawn. His eyes widen in surprise, a silent exclamation escaping him. Then, a system message confirms his dawning suspicion. He possesses an ability called Life Extension, granting him 5 seconds of invincibility when his HP is critically low, preventing it from dropping below 1. A wide, relieved smile spreads across his face, a joyous cry of "I'm alive," echoing in his mind. Meanwhile, from a distance, Yura observes the scene, her thoughts racing. She wonders about his true strength, questioning if he's truly only level 80, and sensing there's something more to him. From her perspective, she sees him smiling, a sight that only deepens her confusion and curiosity. Still observing the unfolding chaos, Yura's eyes widen, a question forming in her mind. How could there be someone so incredibly strong that she didn't know of them? Nearby, Peak Sword grunts in surprise, then quickly apologizes to his companion, Bald Listener, for his outburst. Bald Listener, his gaze fixed on the battle, comments on the incredible speed of the victim, who always seems to be a step faster than their attacker. Amidst the fray, Jin Woo's expression hardens, a defiant challenge echoing in his thoughts. Are you saying I'm not the final blow? Don't look down on me. As an insectoid monster lunges forward, a brilliant blue crystal shield erupts, intercepting the attack with a powerful, shimmering barrier. Peak Sword watches, a wry smile touching his lips, amused that she still had a spell left in her. Doran, visibly strained and covered in sweat, struggles to maintain the shield, muttering that she's almost done and needs to take care of that guy first, but fears it's too late. From her vantage point, Yura continues to observe the chaotic scene. Suddenly, her eyes widen in disbelief as she realizes he's just gone. Wait, no, don't make a move. How on earth was that strong? She exclaims, utterly bewildered by the powerful figure's sudden disappearance. Still observing the chaotic scene, Yura questions what in the world is happening. Meanwhile, a sound of distress escapes him, as Jin Woo finds himself in an unexpected predicament. He expresses his frustration, realizing he's lost too much time, his hand glowing with residual power as a system message confirms the cooldown on his ability. With a swift motion, his glowing hand reaches out, but the system registers his HP at 0. A look of disbelief crosses his face as he processes what just happened, then his expression twists into pure rage, cursing Doran for the apparent betrayal. Back in her observation point, Yura stands, her gaze fixed on the distant chaos. Her eyes narrow, a furious realization dawning on her as she confronts the fact that her quest has been yielded to her. She vows vengeance, declaring she will find the one responsible and never forgive them for this act. This marks the first day an unknown user appeared, fulfilling the community's expectations, a user known as Yura of the Yaten Temple. Still reeling from the unexpected team kill in the game, Jin Woo lies in bed, scrolling through his phone, a deep frustration etched across his face. He mutters to himself, wondering why Doran, that bastard, would want to kill him, especially when he hadn't even helped her. Meanwhile, in a dark, ethereal space, Yura's fury burns, her golden eyes glowing with intense anger as a red, clock-like symbol spins ominously beside her. She declares that this entire situation is Jin Woo's fault, vowing to make him regret it. Back in his room, Jin Woo sits up, still absorbed in his phone, a new thought forming in his mind. He realizes that the game isn't just a game anymore. It's become his reality, and he needs to take a closer look at things. As he browses an online user forum, reading posts about Yura being trash and a ranked interfered in a quest, his anger flares, his eyes glowing with a fierce blue light. He curses the woman who's always causing trouble, his frustration boiling over. His gaze remains fixed on the screen, a silent, furious accusation forming in his mind. He calls her a low evil bastard, his jaw clenched tight. Suddenly, his sister appears at his door, her expression worried as she asks if he's finally gone crazy. He looks up, startled by her presence. She stands in the kitchen, holding a bowl of cereal, her concern evident as she continues to speak. She wonders why he can't just clean his room and stop nagging her. Returning to his doorway, she reiterates her confusion, asking why he's up so early and nagging her. He simply stares back, his earlier frustration momentarily forgotten in the face of her concern. He stares at the screen, a familiar purple-haired figure beside him, as the online comments continue to sting, questioning how a low-level user could have been team killed. The discussion rages on, with users debating the implications of such an event. His face contorts in anguish, the weight of the accusations pressing down on him. It was his fault. He thinks he did nothing. A gentle voice breaks through his despair, his sister expressing disbelief that her appa could be disappointed, urging him not to be. But his frustration boils over, a single name escaping his lips in a curse. Damn it, that Yura. Later, the city hums with its usual rhythm. And he finds himself alone at home, his parents at work, his sister at school. On a screen, a streamer named Lee Youngjun captivates his audience, discussing the secrets of the game. As he eats, a new resolve forms within him, a desire to become famous and earn a load of money. In the desolate northern kingdom, before the ruins of its throne, the armored speaker and Doran survey the devastation, confirming that the throne had indeed collapsed last night. Meanwhile, Jin Woo eats his meal, a quiet moment broken by a sudden, sharp sound, as if something has just clicked into place. His eyes widen in shock, realizing the implications of the news that their investigation has uncovered a single name. The person responsible for such immense destruction was none other than Yura, a formidable black magician currently holding the 5th rank in the unified rankings. Back in a more secure location, the armored speaker, the bald listener, and Jin Woo's sister discuss the incident, concluding that only a magician could have caused such damage, leaving traces of a fierce battle. His sister, recalling the events, explains that Yura was forced to flee to the northern kingdom, pursued by a monster, where she lost all sense, unleashing a powerful spell against the mysterious kingdom. She then excitedly interjects, that's right. Yura is super hot in real life, prompting the armored speaker to gently redirect her. Can we focus here? Undeterred, she continues. Anyway, something really surprising happened. I've never been shocked by Yura before, but she had casted a powerful spell, yet. The discussion continues in a more formal setting, with the armored speaker and the bald listener now joined by Doran, all looking intently at something unseen. A man with light blue hair and glasses expresses disbelief, realizing that the individual they're discussing must be a top ranker, then wonders how he could have failed to recognize such a famous face. As he turns away, speaking to another figure, he simply states his understanding of the situation. Meanwhile, Jinwoo sits alone, a surprised expression on his face as he processes the idea that he is the mysterious user who has captured the world's attention, wondering aloud if he is truly famous, his current status revealing him as the Man of Flame legend, with max strength and a passive skill called Life Extension that grants invulnerability when his HP is low. A news broadcast begins, with reporter Lee Kyung-hoon stating his location at the site of recent major events, confirming they are live from the Yorn Temple in the Eternal Kingdom, which had collapsed the previous night. The reporter then reveals that the person responsible for the temple's destruction is none other than Yura, the hunter currently holding 5th place in the unified ranking. And judging by the ruins, a fierce battle must have taken place there, before cutting to a witness's testimony. The young witness recounts seeing Yura about to be devoured by a monster, facing off against a man he refers to as Hyungnim. He describes something surprising happening that shocked even Yura, as everyone had been certain Hyungnim would be struck by a powerful spell. A still image from the event shows the armored peak sword standing alongside another armored companion, facing an unseen threat. Watching the broadcast, Jinwoo muses on the question of who this mysterious man is who has captured the world's attention, a slight smile playing on his lips as he realizes his own growing fame. He grins, a surge of excitement running through him as he realizes the potential for immense wealth. His enthusiasm bubbling over, he exclaims, "This is absolutely incredible. There's no way I'm just going to stand by and let myself die for you." Still on the phone, he wonders if this is the perfect opportunity to report on something that could become global news, a chance he's been waiting for. He asks the person on the other end, "What is your nickname?" Then, with a hint of urgency, he presses further, "Please tell me about your level." The response comes back, a surprising level -3. A series of beeps sounds from the phone, indicating the call is ending. He looks down, a thoughtful expression on his face, muttering, "If it wasn't for Yura." As the news report on the television continues, promising to share more footage from the temple and seeking additional information, he contemplates his next move, wondering if he should report what he knows. Amidst crumbling ruins, Doran falls, his body broken, as Yura looks on, a question echoing in the desolate air. Isn't that Doran? Who is he able to save, even in the end? Her gaze fixed on the fallen figure, the same haunting question repeats, a testament to the tragedy unfolding. Back in the present, a thoughtful expression crosses Jinwoo's face, a quiet lament escaping him about the unfortunate end of Doran, especially since he had faced Yura alone. The vision returns, confirming the grim reality. Doran had indeed perished. A faint, melancholic smile touches Jinwoo's lips as he remembers the fallen mage, grateful for his help in difficult times, yet acknowledging him as merely an NPC. His thoughts then drift to a particular item, a nice magic ring Doran had possessed. With a weary sigh, Jinwoo decides a nap is in order. Meanwhile, a broadcast begins, announcing the next segment, a hot issue from Satisfy and the pleasure of interviewing a rising star. The green-haired interviewer gestures to her guest, inviting the red-haired figure to greet the viewers. Elsewhere, the armored speaker, Peak Sword, addresses his bald companion, remarking on the rapid ascent of a new player. "You're the one who told me about him, right?" he asks, a hint of curiosity in his voice. He muses to himself, "He must be that arrogant brat. I heard he's the son of a large guild master, and really acts all hot-headed." Turning back to his companion, Peak Sword continues, "And yet, you've claimed he's jumped to the top in such a short time. We're all curious how you've accomplished this feat, aren't we?" A thought crosses his mind, wondering, what in the world? He then asks, "What I want before I answer that. If this is a Korean streamer, the top ranker in Korea is Yura, right?" A moment of reflection passes over him, as he thinks, "I discover your lie at the end of your life." He declares with conviction, "I'll completely crush your pride and become the next top ranker." Holding up a formidable sword, he proclaims, "I asked what my secret to leveling up is, right? The answer is this sword." He adds, "It's of high quality, but it looks a bit too ordinary to be the key to his successes." He urges his companion to witness the truth for herself, his gaze sharp with conviction. As if on cue, a blade of crimson energy, serrated and glowing with an intense aura, manifests before them, held firmly in his armored hand. This is his good warrior skill, an epic ability allowing him to absorb and replicate any weapon, its power directly tied to his own mana. A green-haired woman watches the display with wide, curious eyes. Unable to hide her surprise, she admits she's never heard of such a skill, to which he replies, "Of course you haven't. Because I just got it 3 months ago." His expression hardens, the crimson blade reflecting in his eyes as he reaffirms the name of his epic skill. Meanwhile, a man with dark hair, observing from a different location, expresses his astonishment. He can't believe someone could level up so dramatically with just a single skill. His eyes gleam with a mix of awe and determination, the words panda's descendant appearing as a thought in his mind. A grand, fortified city rises majestically under a clear blue sky, its towers reaching towards the clouds. Within its bustling town square, Peak Sword looks around, a slight sound of confusion escaping him. He seems to be taking in his new surroundings. He recognizes the familiar architecture, realizing this is the very place where Doran undertook her resurrection quest, a task he knows to be incredibly difficult. Turning to Doran, he seems to be seeking confirmation. While a burly warrior in green armor loudly proclaims his heroic ideals to the gathered crowd, urging them to strive for greatness. Peak Sword, however, is distracted by a more pressing concern, remembering that the monsters just outside this village are all above level 100. A nervous chuckle escapes him. The realization hits him hard, a bead of sweat forming on his brow. At his current level of -3, he'd be lucky to survive a single step outside the city gates. With a renewed sense of determination, he decides to find a village more suited to his current strength, or at least take a carriage to travel safely. Soon, he and Doran are seated in a carriage, as he confirms with her the high-level nature of the surrounding area, a fact she readily affirms. Peak Sword sits across from a burly, bearded man, who informs him the carriage will cost 10 gold. The price makes him pause, checking his system window with a frustrated sigh as he realizes the cost is indeed correct. He leans forward, attempting to clarify the exorbitant fee. But the bearded man simply dismisses him, bluntly stating that low-level players don't qualify for discounts, before curtly telling him to leave. Dejected, he turns to walk away, his armored companion calling out to him with concern. A deep sigh escapes him, his frustration evident as he realizes he's trapped in this place. His thoughts race, a bitter curse forming on his lips, questioning why he ever undertook the quest that led to this class change, leaving him stranded. Then, a system message flashes before his eyes, announcing a class change that catches him completely off guard. A manic grin spreads across his face, his eyes glowing with a sudden realization. He could simply earn money and level up by crafting items. With newfound determination, he declares his resolve, eager to check the details of his new blacksmithing skill. The system details appear, revealing that his blacksmith skill increases all stats and attributes of crafted items by 20%, and his reputation grows by 100% with every item he makes, with bonuses scaling from basic to legendary items. His eyes widen, glowing with pure elation as he processes the information, realizing he's already mastered the skill to legendary status, exclaiming his sheer delight at this incredible turn of events. As the system interface materialized before him, he understood the true potential of his new ability. This creation skill was undoubtedly the best, allowing him to craft his own destiny. The production method for the legendary blacksmith's creation skill detailed how he could gain experience and level up by crafting items, with a significant boost for legendary-grade creations. Since he could perform this process 3 times, he decided to give it a shot. He gazed at the image of a formidable, glowing red sword, a legendary weapon. If his class was truly like that, then a legendary blacksmith skill was more than he could have ever asked for. The system prompted him, confirming he was using the legendary blacksmith's creation skill, and asked what item he wished to create. He pondered for a moment, deciding to make a weapon that would be useful for both hunting and leveling up, before the system inquired about the materials he would like to use. His expression hardened with resolve. For materials, he would naturally choose something strong. Scanning through the available options, his eyes landed on a particular ore. That's right, he would use blue orichalcum. The system then requested him to input the characteristics of the weapon, or to provide a blueprint. As a blank design and blueprint screen appeared, a new thought sparked in his mind. Could he hunt by himself? As he began to conceptualize the weapon, a bold idea struck him, thinking, what's there to lose? I'll make it huge and strong, just like a shark. A flush spread across his cheeks as he considered the implications of his legendary blacksmith's creation skill, realizing it was truly unique, capable of generating over 10 million items per second. He mused that he might fall in love with this skill, deciding he would just have to keep on making things. With a final flourish, the design materialized, a blueprint now complete. He gazed at his creation, a satisfied smile playing on his lips as he murmured, awesome, it looks like an ammonite and a shark. Suddenly, a system message flashed before his eyes, stating that automatic creation would now begin, requiring blue orichalcum, the blueprint's design, and the blueprint's design. A puzzled huh escaped him. He stared at the blueprint in his hand, which was made up of all the things he wanted, but the repeated mention of blue orichalcum and more left him utterly bewildered. His eyes widened in confusion. As another system message appeared, echoing his own bewilderment. Huh, what is this? The system confirms that automatic creation has been completed, presenting a flood of information that Jinwoo struggles to fully grasp. As a new weapon materializes before him, he feels an almost tangible connection to it. Holding the newly formed blade, glowing with faint blue energy, he proudly declares himself a true blacksmith. He reviews the stats gained from his recent dungeon run, noting they are decent but not exceptional, and understands that the weapon's true power hinges on acquiring the right materials. However, a system message about a 200+ limited party flashes across his vision, hinting at the immense challenge of obtaining such rare components. He then brings up the stats window alongside his armor details, observing the optional skill Attack Power, now in 3,000 places, with high user detection, strength, and defense requirements, and recalls that a first-rank blacksmith can reach level 2,500. Despite the impressive numbers, he realizes he still won't be able to wield the weapon, even if he allocates all his stat points to strength, as the first-rank blacksmith level requires a minimum of 800 mastery, far beyond his current capabilities. Looking down at the seemingly insignificant item he's created, a stark contrast to the huge and powerful shark-shaped sword he envisioned, he curses his peakless skill for producing what appears to be utter garbage. But then, a sudden thought strikes him, and his expression shifts as he considers that it might not be completely useless after all. He considers the implications of his unique system, realizing that's how he's able to use his gear so far, unlike others. The system's detailed blueprint for the new sword flashes in his mind, reminding him that although the penalty for equipping it is severe, he only needs to make it work. Elsewhere, or perhaps in a memory, a knight kneels before a companion, declaring his resolve to join a specific party, no matter the obstacles. Jinwoo's thoughts return to his own situation, a simple phrase echoing in his mind. Grab and go. The knight's companion, however, offers a stark counterpoint, a single word of firm refusal. No, restricted. He elaborates on the strict requirements, explaining that the party is exclusively for those at level 190 and above, and that the knight's current gear suggests he's only around level 60. This conversation resonates with Jinwoo, who realizes his own level of 100, combined with his unique gear, means such restrictions don't affect him as much. The knight, frustrated, questions his companion's logic, insisting on the importance of their gear, while the companion, addressing him as Beal, warns him against playing around. Observing the two, Jinwoo notes their lack of accessories, concluding that they likely rely on a similar grab-and-go approach to gear, just like him. As he considers the implications of his unique abilities, a hypothetical scenario plays out in his mind, with a blonde-haired warrior addressing a small group, announcing a change in their boss fight strategy. The warrior, a formidable figure in plate armor, explains that Sir Rigaud has decided to handle something else, leaving them to adjust their plans. Observing the scene, Jinwoo marvels at the warrior's physique, thinking, wow, it's really amazing, that Troden's build. It's my first time seeing him. A bald hunter, standing nearby, echoes the sentiment, noting the warrior's legendary status as a martial artist tournament champion, and his incredibly high level, far exceeding 200, which makes his equipment requirements equally demanding for an average hunter. Jinwoo internally labels the armored figure as a rancor, a powerful individual, and sighs at the perceived unfairness of the world. The armored warrior then states a strict rule, that they shouldn't include users they're unsure about. The bald hunter questions this, suggesting more people would be helpful for cleanup, a sentiment Jinwoo agrees with, thinking, yeah, he's right, just leave it to me. Despite his initial impression of the warrior's handsome jerk demeanor, Jinwoo concludes, although I don't like his face, he's a good guy. He then realizes the true implication of the warrior's words, understanding that a lower-ranked hunter wouldn't be able to withstand a boss monster, and acknowledges the strict, pragmatic logic of a true rancor. As the armored speaker continues, he proposes a direct challenge, suggesting a one-on-one skill test, adding that there shouldn't be a problem as long as the other party can prove their worth. The implications of such a test dawn on him, his eyes widening in terror, a single thought screaming through his mind. He's completely outmatched. A wave of dread washes over him, a single thought echoing in his mind. He is utterly and completely screwed. Meanwhile, a confident voice declares, that's a great idea. Everyone should definitely acknowledge that. The bald man, growing restless, announces his boredom with a laugh, deciding to go train his left foot control instead. As the bald listener walks away, Jinwoo lets out a soft sigh, wondering why he's leaving and musing that it would have been nice to meet with them. A slight annoyance crosses his face as he acknowledges the situation, deciding it's best to just save money for the time being. Suddenly, a system window materializes before him, prompting him to please name the item. He reacts with a surprised, questioning sound. He observes the item displayed in the window, noting that the system itself refers to it as simply item. Despite the generic name, he appreciates how the window helps him understand its functions. A determined look settles on his face as he realizes the necessity of a custom name, considering it a special fund for carriage. After contemplating a custom name for his new acquisition, the system interface displays a stark message, failure. A moment later, another message appears, declaring, this is the beginning. The scene shifts to the exterior of a rustic, timber-framed building, a sign above its entrance proudly proclaiming it as Smith's Blacksmith. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of metal and coal, where a large, burly blacksmith pauses his work at an anvil, looking up at Jinwoo with a questioning, pardon. The blacksmith's expression hardens as he clarifies, you want to customize the name of a weapon that's already been made? How dare you place a custom order on a legendary weapon like this? His massive hand grips a hammer, the weight of his words emphasized by the tool. How dare a kid who just learned the basics come in here and try to swipe my business? Jinwoo, unfazed, leans in slightly, attempting to placate the enraged man. I know it's not a big deal. Just help me out, will you? The blacksmith, still fuming, gestures dismissively. There are others, like you, who think lightly of this job. Let me tell you something. as another armored figure stands silently in the background. Still lecturing, the blacksmith insists that everyone who looks down on others and what they have is all the same, since they've never bothered to earn something by their own hands. Jinwoo, however, simply tells him to stop blaming him and get lost. He thinks to himself that this was the only way he could have earned money to ride the carriage, wondering if he'll be trapped in this game forever. With a sigh, Jinwoo admits he can't really leave the old man to die, surprising Smith. Yet, the blacksmith stubbornly repeats his earlier words, telling him to stop blaming him and get lost. Carrying a stack of logs, Jinwoo tries to get the old man's attention, calling out to him. As he chops firewood, completing a system quest to chop 500 pieces for 10 experience points and 50 bronze, he reflects on how long it's been since he had a normal, quiet life, realizing he can even level up with this task. He stares at the crude tool in his hand, a scoff escaping him as he mutters about the oversized rock he's supposed to use as a hammer, wondering if it would be helpful to appraise the item first. As if on cue, a system window appears, detailing the old axe, with a normal rating, 6 durability, and an attack power of 4 to 7. And another message informs him that his understanding of the axe is at 100%, granting him knowledge of its production method. Meanwhile, Smith observes him, commenting on the old, rusty axe, musing that understanding and actual experience are two very different things. Jinwoo continues to chop, a frustrated thought crossing his mind about the system telling him where to strike. Each swing a struggle, yet he manages to land a single, solid hit. The system diligently tracks his progress, counting each piece of firewood he chops, 100, then 101, then 102. 2 hours later, he collapses onto the ground, utterly spent, surrounded by the fruits of his labor. Cursing the ridiculous difficulty of this level and lamenting that he barely managed to cut 150 pieces. He has to squeeze out every last bit of power he has, pushing through the exhaustion to complete the task. His muscles scream in protest, but he can't give up, not when he's so desperate to escape this desolate village. With a grimace of pure resolve, he forces himself to continue, one more time, and then one more. Just as his body threatens to give out, a system message flashes before his eyes, announcing that he has learned a new skill. He stares at the glowing text, utterly bewildered, wondering what just happened. The system elaborates, revealing the legendary Limit Grill skill, a passive ability that grants a temporary boost to all stats when physical limits are reached, and he realizes this is why he doesn't feel tired anymore. Instead, a strong, powerful force now courses through his body, filling him with renewed vigor. Feeling the surge of energy, he knows he can push on, just a bit more. Meanwhile, under a bright sky, the sign for a smithy stands prominently, awaiting its next customer. After his intense training, a new challenge awaited him, a towering pile of logs. Each one thick and heavy, he began to scale the mountain of wood, his movements agile and determined. A system message appeared, detailing the task. 1,000 pieces in just 4 hours, he thought, a slight smirk playing on his lips. It was a piece of cake. He confidently declared that even with his current appearance, he was still a blacksmith. He urged himself to bring it on. A burly man, Smith, scoffed at him, asking, "What a joke. How can a brat like you be a blacksmith?" Smith then challenged him, stating, "I'll trust you if you can chop this." He added that it was a different story if he couldn't. With a resounding clang, Smith slammed his pickaxe into a log. He continues his arduous task, the system reminding him that he has only 4 hours to chop 1,000 pieces of wood, a feat he's already halfway through. Though the progress feels slow, he knows each swing of the axe is making him stronger, pushing him closer to the next level. Meanwhile, a gruff voice cuts through the air as the blacksmith, Smith, addresses the armored speaker, explaining that he's there to mine iron ore. The armored speaker, recognizing the blacksmith, expresses surprise that Smith would send someone like Jinwoo to check on them, questioning his unusual attire. A flicker of annoyance crosses Jinwoo's face, having overheard their conversation. Smith, however, dismisses their concerns, telling the armored speaker and the bald listener to stop bothering him and focus on filling their own quota. As the armored speaker walks away, he grumbles about the situation, feeling that he shouldn't have to deal with such trivial matters and contemplating a complaint to Smith. His bald companion follows, both of them clearly displeased. Nearby, a shimmering, purple-hued crystal of iron ore emits a soft, ethereal glow. He continues his relentless assault on the rock face, blue energy flaring with each powerful swing of his axe. From a distance, the armored speaker questions the method, wondering why the ore isn't being mined in larger chunks, while his bald companion notes that he's still wearing his armor even while working. Jinwoo's grip tightens on the axe, his internal monologue revealing the strain on his body, yet his mana remains sharp, as he mentally dismisses any distractions. The blacksmith, Smith, observes the scene, acknowledging the truth in the young man's words. The cavern itself seems to hum with latent energy, a testament to the sheer persistence of a lone miner. His axe connects with a glowing blue crystal, sending vibrant particles scattering. The armored speaker, now visibly impressed, admits he can't help but acknowledge the effort, while his bald companion expresses regret for having looked down on him earlier. Smith, a knowing smile on his face, declares that the young man is on another level, destined to become a great miner. Jin Woo continues his work, surrounded by the debris of his relentless effort, the blue energy of his strikes illuminating the dark cavern. Deep within the rocky expanse, the rhythmic clang of a pickaxe echoes through the cavern. He continues his relentless work, each swing of the tool met with a system notification, informing him that he has obtained 20 lumps of lemon ore, his breath coming in ragged pants. Nearby, the armored speaker watches, a cry of astonishment escaping him as he witnesses the sheer intensity of the effort. For Jin Woo, this grueling labor is more than just mining. It is a testament to his unwavering persistence, a weapon in itself. Sweat glistens on his determined face, his eyes burning with an unyielding resolve. His efforts are rewarded with another system message, announcing that his grid has now reached level 1. A serene blue sky stretches above a lush, green landscape, a stark contrast to the trials that lie ahead. As the system confirms his new status, he finds himself back at level 1. His stat points reset to their original state, having gained 10 new points. Sung Jinwoo stares at the holographic screen displaying his name and basic information, a question forming in his mind. Am I truly back to level 1? His gaze shifts to the detailed stats, noting that his points are still capped at a total of 22, with his basic stats also capped at 50. A flicker of disbelief crosses his face as he processes the numbers, wondering why his stats remain so low despite the 10 points gained per level. Then, a sudden realization dawns on him, his eyes widening in surprise. There's a 4-level difference between him and level 1, a fact he finds utterly awesome. Meanwhile, a bald man with a confident smirk declares that he was born an outstanding person, a member of the royal family, letting out a hearty laugh. Sung Jinwoo stands before the blacksmith, a look of deep concern etched across his face. The burly man, a blacksmith by trade, grabs him by the collar, demanding he stop getting so close, while a thought crosses Jinwoo's mind about the strange expressions he's been seeing on blacksmiths lately. Clearing his throat, Jinwoo politely asks the blacksmith to suggest a high-demand item he could produce for money. He assures the blacksmith he has enough to cover the materials, who confirms that all necessary components have already been prepared. With a proud flourish, the blacksmith presents a finely crafted weapon, declaring it a light spear and a masterpiece. Jinwoo, unfamiliar with its design, questions if such an ancient-looking item is a consumable, but the blacksmith clarifies it's a unique creation of magic and steel, not a standard consumable. He further explains its ability to bypass some enemy defenses, making it essential for those undertaking the guardian of the forest raids. Intrigued, Jinwoo holds the spear, wondering if he can appraise it. Immediately, a system window appears, detailing the light spear's S-rank rarity, 50 attack power, and perfect durability, confirming his new ability to use the appraisal skill. He considers his options, realizing that if he were to use his item disassembly skill, he could probably extract the remaining 1.1% of raw materials from the light spear. Smith, observing his contemplation, suggests they proceed to learn the production method, while Jinwoo notes the blacksmith's unwavering calm. The process begins with a crucial first step, placing the proper amount of ores inside the furnace bellows. Next, the intense heat of the furnace is utilized, melting the ores and meticulously removing all impurities, a critical stage in refining the raw materials. Smith muses that achieving the precise mixing ratio for such refined materials would prove quite difficult for most. Undeterred, Jinwoo eagerly declares, ready to put the instructions into practice. Following the steps, he successfully acquires Smith's production method, a surprisingly straightforward feat in this game-like reality. As a brilliant blue aura flares around his hand, he realizes there's an additional class change effect accompanying the acquisition, a method far more profound than simple information. With a final surge of energy, he successfully acquires a new skill, the system confirming that following a simple manual can indeed grant powerful abilities. He watches the ember of the earth, its temperature steadily climbing from 700 to 750 degrees. Smith observes the glowing material with a keen eye, noting its incredible heat and confident that success is now within reach. A hint of awe touches Jinwoo's expression. A thought crosses his mind about the true nature of craftsmanship, that even the most complicated creations demand endless effort, blood, sweat, and tears before he exclaims his success. Smith, startled by the sudden declaration, chides him for appearing so abruptly, yet internally marvels at Jinwoo's ability to regulate the intense heat despite this being his first time smelting. He ponders if such skill can be attributed to mere talent, remarking on Jinwoo's striking resemblance to magma. Jinwoo, lost in thought, considers the implications of that comparison, clarifying to himself that he is not a reincarnation, but a descendant. Smith then shifts their focus to the weapon's production, holding the glowing material, explaining that the weapon and its handle must be forged together under low heat. He instructs Jinwoo to leave the piece to cool and harden in the mold, promising that they can polish it afterward. Smith, sitting on the floor, reminds him to maintain the arrowhead's balance, emphasizing the need to sharpen the head if it wanders. He then demonstrates the final step, explaining that once the arrowhead is fixed into the shaft, the process is complete, but to maximize penetration, the arrow's center of gravity must be carefully marked. Looking up at Jinwoo, who holds the newly formed arrow, Smith asks how he found the process, wondering if he believes he can do it. A scoff escapes Jin-woo as he dismisses the question, stating that he's already learned it. Smith, impressed, offers to supply the necessary materials, instructing him to proceed with the process. He observes Jin-woo, acknowledging that the young man is far from average, his metal casting technique masterful. As the arrowheads cool, Smith offers to make a few more. Jin-woo, however, declines, asserting that he will make the shafts himself. He explains that with his understanding at 100%, he can now utilize the item production method system, revealing a list of craftable items. He continues to meticulously follow Smith's instructions, working on the arrow shafts. The process feels endless, yet he knows he must master it. Smith's voice guides him, telling him to sear the bent branches and straighten them. Then, with precise movements, he cuts the branches to the appropriate length, pasting and feathering the ends. With his dexterity skill and the class correction effect, the crafting becomes significantly easier, arrows clinking into place as they are completed. Smith watches, amazed by the speed, while Jin-woo, puzzled, asks why such a detailed process is necessary if he can produce them so quickly. The blacksmith explains that if the arrows are not sturdy, they will break easily, rendering them useless. As Jin-woo continues to work, Smith instructs him to reheat and then let the arrows cool, a crucial step for durability. He reiterates that while it may seem excessive, the meticulous process is what makes the arrows truly effective. A sudden realization dawns on Jin-woo, understanding that he can sell these high-quality items for a much higher price if he puts in the extra effort. He considers the common belief that a person without innate talent must work harder to succeed. But ultimately, he knows it all comes down to the effort one puts in. As he works, Smith observes, noting that only the arrow shaft remains to be finished. He recalls the dismissive words of others, telling him he has no talent, but he pushes those thoughts aside, focused on his task, determined to return to the dungeons as a hunter. With the final touches applied, he holds up the newly crafted arrow, a flicker of doubt crossing his mind, wondering if he's done it correctly. Suddenly, a system message flashes before him, announcing that the crafting skill has been triggered. A wave of shock washes over him as a detailed statistics window appears, revealing the quality and properties of his newly made item, leaving him utterly bewildered by the unexpected outcome. A look of intense focus crosses Jin-woo's face as he observes the results of his efforts, a quiet thought forming in his mind. He wonders aloud, I'm nearly finished making it. Is it good? The system confirms an epic item has been produced, promising an increase to all his stats, along with an additional 50% experience and 300% gold. The newly crafted item, a gleaming golden spearhead, materializes before him, its intricate design radiating a powerful aura. Jin-woo's eyes widen slightly as he processes the information, a small smile playing on his lips as he realizes the sheer magnitude of the item's power, far exceeding his current level. Meanwhile, in a different location, the bald listener expresses his admiration. Amazing. I ran a high-appointed blacksmith, but he wasn't a perfect grade. Are you also one struck by his effort? The armored speaker, looking somewhat perplexed by the bald listener's intensity, simply asks, what's with your expression? Sung Jin-woo gazes at the newly crafted spearhead, a flicker of understanding crossing his features as he considers the neglect aspect of its creation. He muses on its inherent power, knowing that with this weapon, he stands to gain a significant boost in both experience and gold. Meanwhile, the smith watches him depart, a wistful sigh escaping him as he wonders if the young man couldn't have stayed just a little longer, though he's certain they'll meet again. Earlier, Jin-woo had offered the smith a collection of items, insisting that the master deserved them more than he did. He had pondered if his high affinity stat played a role in the successful crafting, before sincerely thanking the master smith for his work. Back in the present, the smith beams as the bald listener praises his skill, admitting it's always nice to be recognized by a master, while the armored speaker looks on. Elsewhere, Jin-woo considers the items he received, finding them a nice present, but their sheer weight proves to be a bit of a burden. Ultimately, he shrugs off the inconvenience, deciding it doesn't matter, as he simply needs to sell them all. A general announcement echoes through the hunter community, promising great rewards for those who venture out into the unknown. Meanwhile, back in his workshop, the smith raises a triumphant fist, celebrating a successful creation. Far away, deep within a dense forest, a formidable gate stands as the guardian of the forest's end. Suddenly, a creature is sent flying through the air, its body contorting from a powerful, unseen blow. Nearby, a red-haired monster confronts an armored foe, letting out a fierce cry as she prepares for battle. With a burst of blue lightning, she unleashes a devastating kick, sending the armored monster reeling. Another powerful strike follows, the red-haired warrior's weapon glowing with energy as she continues her assault, demanding a response from her opponent. This formidable combatant is known as Jinwoo's subordinate guild boss monster. She glares at the defeated armored monster, her voice sharp as she challenges, "Do you want to live? Clean it up." Meanwhile, in a different part of the dungeon, a fierce skirmish unfolds, as Ridro of the Tsadaka Guild unleashes a glowing punch, met by the defensive stance of Tobin, another guild member, who braces with his shield. Tobin holds his ground, his shield shimmering with defensive energy. Nearby, Wayner, also a Tsadaka Guild member, reacts with surprise to the unfolding chaos. Back with the red-haired monster subordinate, She surveys a field of defeated, glowing blue figures, their forms scattered across the ground. A thought crosses her mind, dismissing most of them as utterly terrible. She can hardly believe they sent such small fry to test her power. Turning her attention to a massive, rocky monster, she strikes with a powerful, glowing attack, but the blow registers no damage. Elsewhere, Wayner gazes up at an immense, unyielding structure, muttering that it won't break, questioning the point of their efforts, even as he notes the presence of 30 iron ores, 7 orichalcum ores, and more within it. He confirms the discovery of blue orichalcum ore, noting that the ancient shields are not dropping this time around. Even though the situation is difficult, he expresses satisfaction that they will at least secure the valuable ore. Meanwhile, the armored speaker questions Redro about their meager gains from 2 months of fighting, asking for the body count. Redro reports roughly 70 casualties, explaining that while the main party focused on the boss, the golems multiplied and inflicted significant damage. Elsewhere, the red-haired monster subordinate expresses frustration over the strength of S-ranked beasts, realizing she needs a countermeasure to them. The scene shifts to the village of Byran. She walks through the village, recalling that this place is said to produce rare orichalcum, a material so valuable it cannot be found anywhere else, and resolves to take on the golems herself. The Tzedakah Guild, though composed solely of respected top-rankers from various fields, suffers from a lower reputation compared to other guilds due to its lack of members. The 37 members of the guild, known to each other long before their formation on the continent of Byran, were a regular team amongst legends, their combined skill reaching an S-rank limit despite their limited numbers. Still focused on their immediate objectives, Tobin emphasizes the critical need for orichalcum to complete the lizard quest, stating that for now, their priority must be to increase the guild's overall strength. Meanwhile, the armored speaker dismisses a concern, insisting he's not as weak as he once was, then cautions against haste, beginning to outline a more measured approach. After a moment of consideration, he simply agrees, a silent understanding passing between him and Redro. Elsewhere, the red-haired monster subordinate declares to her own followers that her Tzedakah Guild will cease its current raiding activities, shifting their focus entirely to improving their levels and equipment. Her eyes gleaming with fierce resolve, she commands them to raise their levels by 15 within the next 3 months. Her voice dropping to a chilling tone, she adds a stark warning, "I'll kill you." The bald listener, one of her subordinates, recoils in disbelief, protesting that they are already at their limit and will surely die. She reassures them not to worry, clarifying that she won't force them all to fight, but will instead form a raid party only with the explorers brave enough to join. With her plans set in motion, she turns her attention to a glowing map, ready to scrutinize the available routes. A digital display shows the current market rates for orichalcum, with prices ranging from 7 to 10 silver per kilogram, noting that the auction house sells at 10 and buys at 7. Suddenly, Sung Jin-woo's eyes widen, a gasp escaping him as he spots something unexpected. The object of his surprise is a simple purple staff, yet the text beneath it declares it an FPC-grade item. Meanwhile, the red-haired monster subordinate stares intently at a status window detailing Special Earth Armor, an A-rated item boasting significant attack power and defense, with a chance to ignore enemy defenses. Both she and Sung Jin-woo are utterly stunned, their expressions mirroring disbelief at the armor's revealed properties. He can't believe his eyes, never having encountered armor with such unique attributes before. A fierce determination ignites within him, a burning desire to claim this extraordinary armor for himself. The implications of such an item are clear, it is far superior to anything he currently possesses. Examining a newly acquired item, the bald listener remarks on its unusual nature, noting that while he's encountered all manner of magical artifacts, this one feels different, not like magic at all, but rather a skill. This fraudulent ability, an arrow crafted with immense skill but lacking inherent magic, is capable of piercing any defense due to the effect of commander's mana, making it viable even in higher-level battles. He decides they should acquire it quickly, pondering aloud who could have possibly created such a thing. Considering the possibilities, he speculates it must be the work of S-rank hunters like Sung Jin-woo or Sung Il, concluding that if it isn't them, then someone even more formidable must exist. With a chuckle, he exclaims that with such an item, one could easily reach level 30 in a month on Earth, believing the claim to be entirely plausible. Later, seated across from the armored speaker, the bald listener is told that the least he could do is buy his last meal. He stares, a sound of frustration escaping him, as the armored speaker questions the situation, wondering if someone dared to harm a guild member. Suddenly, a glowing blue holographic notice appears before them, its text detailing a directive to contact all users in the guild's blacksmith ranking and measure their skill level, seeking those with higher skill compared to their user level. His frustration boiling over, the bald listener clenches his fists, demanding to know where this sudden change of heart is coming from, especially after being told to give up. As the armored speaker holds up a small, glowing item, asking if he's seen it before, the bald listener cuts him off, unable to tolerate another second of his rambling. Explaining that it's a hidden quest, a competition to find a blacksmith, the armored speaker causes the bald listener to worry about the guild master's focus. Meanwhile, in another location, the red-haired monster subordinate stands firm, Her guild, the Tzedakah Guild, an elite group that has always maintained the top 5 rankings for each class. Her guild members, Redro and Tobin, speculate if she's testing them, but the armored speaker, now among them, insists she's serious. With fierce pride, the red-haired monster subordinate declares their identity. That's us, the Tzedakah Guild. Echoing the bald listener's earlier frustration, the glowing purple screen repeats the question of why they were told to give up. She considers the implications, knowing that all the other guilds are likely already frantically searching for him. Meanwhile, the armored speaker emphasizes the urgency of their mission, insisting they must find him before anyone else does. The quest to locate the legendary blacksmith is proving to be a formidable challenge, leading them through treacherous, rocky landscapes. The bald listener, clearly frustrated, mutters about the major guilds already having their own famous craftsmen, wondering what this particular blacksmith could have possibly created to warrant such a frantic search. Elsewhere, the renowned blacksmith Panmir looks up in surprise, a question forming on his lips as if he's just been interrupted. He is, after all, Panmir, the #1 ranked blacksmith. With a confident air, he proudly declares that he has seen the epic-grade Jaffa arrow. The Jaffa arrow, an item crafted by Panmir himself, boasts exceptional skill and potential, designed to enhance the user's abilities and ensure victory. He acknowledges that while others might consider such items to be mere luck, he knows it's the result of his tireless dedication and hard work. A wave of disbelief washes over those who hear of the Jaffa arrow, a question echoing in their minds. Just who could have crafted such a thing? Meanwhile, the mundane reality of daily life continues, with simple meals sustaining those who toil. Sung Jinwoo, looking utterly exhausted, can only manage a tired yawn as he wonders when the recruitment process will finally begin. An announcement rings out, a voice advising caution to those venturing outside, before declaring the start of the day's recruiting. Outside the Shinwado building, a line of hopefuls gathers, all seeking temporary labor for the day. A man hands something to Jinwoo, who accepts it with a weary, almost inaudible, I'll hear. He watches the man, a thought forming in his mind. What kind of group would make a younger kid feel bad for not being able to get a job? The recruiter calls out the next name, announcing, "Next, Talsu. We need 3 people." Jinwoo reacts with a surprised gasp, his eyes widening at the unexpected turn of events. Still reeling from the previous day's events, Sung Jinwoo finds himself at a recruitment office, his stomach rumbling with hunger as he overhears a man loudly demanding more consideration. A recruiter, unmoved by the complaints, dismisses the man's greed, then calls out for an electrician, offering a meager 200,000 won for a single person. Jinwoo's expression sours, remembering his own past attempts at such work, where he'd spent more on medicine than he'd earned. Despite his reservations, he raises a hand, a hopeful escaping his lips. The recruiter, oblivious to Jinwoo's plight, urges everyone to hurry, stating there's much work to do, as Jinwoo watches, his face etched with fatigue. Later, a towering apartment building stands against the sky, and Jinwoo, looking utterly drained, resigns himself to his fate, muttering that he's going to work. At a small table, a woman and child watch him, as he apologizes for being late, but is urged to wait a second longer. He walks away, his shoulders slumped, the familiar refrain of hunger and exhaustion echoing in his mind, as he heads off to another day of labor. His father's hand extends a small allowance, a gesture of support, as he tells his son to take a break. Looking at the meager sum, Jinwoo questions the amount, knowing the low wages of the day, but his mother gently reminds him to be thankful for what he receives. With a warm smile, she offers him a prepared bath, hoping he can find some relaxation. Later, his parents discuss his situation, his mother worried that he's falling behind for his age, while his father speculates that he might be too ashamed to admit the allowance isn't enough for even breakfast. Overhearing their concern, a soft smile touches Jinwoo's lips as he thinks of his loving family. Then, with a playful thought, he wonders if they could also cover his fees. His thoughts are interrupted by a comically overflowing bowl of rice, a small moment of domestic chaos. The scene shifts, a digital, loading screen appearing, filled with fantastical figures, signaling a transition to another world. Now clad in hunter's gear within a dark dungeon, a system message flashes before Jinwoo's eyes, his frustration evident as he stares at his empty bank account, acknowledging that at least it motivates him. Surrounded by other hunters, his mind is still on his family, calculating the cost of groceries, a fierce determination burning within him to hurry and earn what they need. Standing alone in what appears to be a training ground, Peak Sword receives a notification. A sudden, excited cry escapes him as he clutches a glowing card, its surface displaying a new balance. The system message flashes, revealing a current balance of 877 silver, prompting him to question what this new currency means, and why even low-grade items are so much worse than this. A wide grin spreads across his face as he quickly calculates the conversion. 877 silver translates to 87 gold and 77 silver, a staggering 87,001 earned in just 6 hours. Bursting into an office, he declares to Panmir that he no longer needs to work at the labor office, eagerly demanding his money. Panmir, standing behind a counter, confirms the amount is 87 gold and 59 silver, muttering about the system's flaws. Holding the card, Peak Sword ponders the implications. If he can make money this easily, perhaps he won't have to leave after all. But Panmir's stern voice cuts through his thoughts, insisting that it's too dangerous and they should leave. A heavy thud echoes as a wooden door closes, sealing their conversation. He listens intently as Panmir confirms the silver earned, noting that it's already been converted to local currency. As they continue their journey, the bald man poses a question, wondering why Winston isn't considered a city. He then shares a piece of information, mentioning that Earl will be sent as the new lord. The armored speaker remains thoughtful, knowing they are nearing their destination on the horizon. The carriage rolls steadily along the winding road, carrying them closer to Winston. He sits, contemplating the journey and the changes ahead. Suddenly, a system window appears before him, displaying his current statistics. Nicknamed Grid, Level 1, with 175, 500 experience points. Class, Insignificant Descendant. Title, One Who Became Legend. 8 out of 10 mana, 9/10 stamina, 0/20 agility, 0/20 strength, and 0/20 intelligence. His inventory is empty, and he possesses no active skills. The detailed breakdown of his current state fills his vision. The journey continues along a winding road, a cart making its way through a verdant landscape as a voice asks, "We're almost there. Do you see it on the horizon?" Spotting the distant settlement, Jin Woo's gaze sharpens, a faint smile touching his lips as he exclaims, "I'm finally at the next village." Beside him, the armored speaker confirms, "In front of the village of Baron." Jin Woo's eyes widen slightly, a sense of wonder washing over him as he murmurs, "Wow, it's..." He observes the bustling streets, the vibrant activity of the village, noting that the downtown area appears much livelier than he expected. With a determined expression, he resolves to make a strong impression, thinking, "I have to start off on the right foot here." He then pulls up his inventory, reviewing his resources. Jin Woo observes his status, noting an increase in strength, and wonders if the penalty for his previous actions might lessen if he continues to grow stronger. However, the system alerts him to the deteriorating condition of his gear, his greatsword of Baron's durability dropping by 15%, and his plate armor now at 67%. This degradation directly impacts his combat effectiveness, with both his sword's attack power and his armor's defense reduced by 15%. Realizing the low durability of his equipment, he considers improving his stats by selling some of his items. Since smithing isn't an immediate option, he decides to store his current gear, asking for a storage space. The shopkeeper, Panmir, stares in disbelief at the sheer volume of items Jin Woo is attempting to store, the price of which is clearly astronomical. With a soft whoosh, the greatsword and plate armor vanish into a shimmering inventory space. Now unburdened, Jin Woo decides to craft a special arrow, just in case he encounters any unexpected trouble. He considers his options, wondering if it's time to seek out another enemy. As he walks, his thoughts drift to the system's shop, a place where he could sell items and buy new ones, though its limited stock and high prices often left him wanting more. Suddenly, a massive building catches his eye, its sheer size impressive, and he realizes this must be the place he's been looking for, a shop that offers a unique crafting service for special items. Stepping inside, he calls out, hoping to find someone. The vast interior appears completely empty, echoing his voice. Yet, a faint sound suggests he's not alone. Indeed, the shopkeeper, Panmir, is fast asleep, rousing only to gruffly ask about his business. Panmir, the shopkeeper, leans forward, his expression earnest as he asks for help to create the best-selling item in the village. He explains that items for hunters are always in high demand and sell out quickly, leaving him with nothing to offer. A slight frown crosses Jin Woo's face, considering the shopkeeper's predicament. He acknowledges the annoyance of the situation, then proposes an alternative. Perhaps Panmir could craft something else entirely. Panmir looks confused by the suggestion, while Jin Woo seems to ponder his next move. Meanwhile, in a different location, the armored speaker confronts a group of hunters, including the bald listener, Redro, and Tobin, demanding to know who is handling a particular deal. Redro reassures them that they are still in a good position, confident they can secure whatever they are after. Tobin urges haste, his finger pointing to a document detailing an agreement between the blacksmith Panmir and the Hunter Association, a slave bid press. Back in the shop, Panmir expresses his shock, realizing the selling contract is with a massive guild, one as large as a huge company. Armored Speaker explains that the Hunter Association's involvement in the contract is merely a formality, a way to ensure the agreement's legitimacy. Jin Woo, listening intently, ponders the implications, realizing that the association's presence means the contract is far more significant than a simple personal deal. Armored Speaker continues, addressing his guild members, assuring them that the association's role is simply to mediate, ensuring fairness for both parties involved. Still processing the information, Jin Woo admits to Armored Speaker that this is his first time encountering such a complex arrangement, having been unaware of the association's deeper involvement. Meanwhile, Panmir, his face etched with concern, muttering to himself about the sheer scale of the contract, realizing he's agreed to something far larger than he initially understood. Back with the guild, Armored Speaker emphasizes the importance of the contract, asking his companions if they truly grasp the immense value of the items they're discussing. Panmir, now visibly distressed, laments that he's merely a blacksmith, overwhelmed by the thought of crafting items for such a powerful entity. Jinwoo, observing Panmer's anxiety, asks him to clarify the exact nature of the contract, sensing a deeper issue at play. With a stern expression, Jinwoo presses the blacksmith, insisting that he reveal the full details of the agreement. He watches Panmer, whose face is etched with worry, and a thought crosses his mind. Is that man going to be okay? Suddenly, a system message flashes before him, causing his eyes to widen in surprise. The message details a blacksmith's rage quest that has failed, while the armored speaker's voice echoes, reminding everyone, "I'm just a guest in a place like this." Jinwoo's attention is drawn to a different reward, a skill related to blacksmithing, and he wonders aloud, what are the conditions? His eyes glow as the system reveals his new acquisition, the legendary blacksmith's patience skill, which will increase crafting durability by 200% for 1 hour. He stares at the details of the powerful new skill, a valuable asset for any crafter. However, a new problem quickly surfaces in his mind. He has left his armor and sword at the workshop, leaving him with nothing to use. His gaze falls upon a formidable spear, recognizing it as an epic weapon. The system identifies it as Dragon's Fang, a weapon with immense attack power and a special effect that ignores enemy defense, a truly devastating tool. An armored figure asserts that there is nothing one can say to an adult. Meanwhile, the blacksmith Panmer looks down, his face etched with deep worry. As the armored man continues, asking if they shouldn't at least try to persuade him, Jinwoo, observing the scene, confirms to himself that this is indeed the moment. He declares that he has another weapon, then challenges his unseen foes, daring them to come and face him. A system window appears, detailing a new skill, Blacksmith's Rage, which significantly increases attack power and speed for a short duration. With a powerful, mid-air kick, Jinwoo launches his attack, but the armored figure, Wainer, swiftly intercepts it. Before Jinwoo can recover, Wainer counters with a devastating punch, sending him reeling. As Wainer continues his rapid assault, pushing him back, Jinwoo mutters in surprise, wondering why his opponent is always so fast, realizing he needs to find a better way to fight. The narrow stairs ahead echo with a sudden, sharp sound. As Jinwoo, moving with incredible speed, races up them. He then launches himself from above, descending rapidly towards the armored figure and Panmer. But the armored speaker, Wainer, swiftly intercepts his arrow with a shield, pushing him back with surprising force. A jolt of surprise flashes across Jinwoo's face, red lightning crackling around him as he activates a new ability. The system confirms, Blacksmith's Rage is now active, boosting his attack power and speed for the next 30 seconds. With renewed ferocity, he unleashes a volley of arrows, each imbued with the crimson energy of his rage, leaving both Wainer and Panmer stunned by the sudden, overwhelming assault. Wainer can only stare in disbelief as the barrage continues, unable to comprehend the power behind what he dismisses as just an arrow. He stands amidst the fallen, a smirk playing on his lips as he challenges his opponents, asking if they truly believe he would resort to such a simple tactic. His weapon, glowing faintly with blue energy, punctuates his words as he declares, "Maybe you're all blind." This powerful Blacksmith's Rage skill, which he now wields, was a reward for accepting a quest to aid the blacksmith Khan, a task that promised to improve Khan's condition and maximize their affinity upon completion. Jinwoo's eyes narrow as a surge of power courses through him, a fierce declaration echoing in his mind, Blacksmith's Rage. The skill activates, granting him a massive boost to his attack power for a short duration. With a resounding crash, his weapon strikes with incredible force. The blow lands critically, sending shockwaves through the air as he delivers a devastating impact. Watching the display, Panmer and the bald listener exchange wide-eyed glances, clearly astonished by the sudden surge of power. Meanwhile, Ridro cries out in agony, blue energy crackling around him as he clutches his side. "Kruk, Kruk, it's just an arrow." Jinwoo turns to him, a challenging smirk on his face, asking, "Does this look like a normal arrow to you guys?" He then taunts them, his weapon glowing brightly. "Ares, you're all blind." As the system confirms the activation of Blacksmith's Rage, boosting his attack power and speed for the next 20 seconds, he watches the countdown tick down on the holographic display before him. A soft, poo sound accompanies another notification, informing him that he has gained 5 levels by defeating a high-level non-player character. The system then confirms that he has successfully eliminated the boss. A surge of energy courses through him as the display flashes, announcing his new status. "You are now level 5. He takes a moment to review his updated stats, noting the significant increases across the board: strength at 24, stamina at 22, intelligence at 21, and dexterity at 23, among others. A thought crosses his mind, wondering if the others are still alive. With a renewed sense of purpose and power, he resolves to eliminate the remaining 4 enemies. With the Blacksmith's Rage skill still active and only 30 seconds remaining, Jinwoo moves like a blur, his dagger flashing as he carves through the remaining enemies. A crimson spray erupts from his target, another creature falling lifelessly to the ground. He leaps, twisting in midair, his attack finding its mark with brutal efficiency. As he lands amidst the broken forms of his foes, a voice calls out, "Phew, are you all right?" The armored speaker, his face etched with concern, supports a visibly injured Redro, while the bald listener looks on, asking, "Where is he, Lucky?" The armored speaker explains their dire situation. "Besides that, our weapons are useless, and we're fighting on the narrow staircase." Jinwoo, having overheard their plight, turns his gaze towards them, a plan forming in his mind. He resolves, "I'll still come. We should pass and critical hit them from behind this time around." From a vantage point high above, he observes the struggling group, ready to execute his new strategy. He watches the other hunters struggle, their weapons proving useless against the formidable creatures, knowing he can't directly intervene without drawing too much attention. From their position below, the armored hunter expresses his frustration, realizing their current tactics are ineffective. Though he acknowledges his own limitations in this specific scenario, he knows he still has a trick up his sleeve, a way to turn the tide. With a determined glint in his eyes, he declares his immediate need for something crucial. A system message flashes, confirming the activation of legendary blacksmith's patience, a powerful buff that will enhance his abilities. He focuses his will, understanding the immense potential this skill holds. Later, having sought out the blacksmith, Panmure thanks him for his patience, while Jinwoo inquires about the skill's effects. Another system window appears, detailing the skill's temporary boost to strength, defense, and dexterity, prompting him to urge Panmure to continue. The full description of legendary blacksmith's patience reveals its significant stat increases and the condition for its continuous effect, a skill that doesn't consume mana and will naturally reactivate as long as he survives. A confident smirk plays across the armored warrior's face as he issues a chilling challenge. But before he can even process the words, Jinwoo reacts with a gasp of alarm, his eyes wide with shock. The armored warrior's blade descends with brutal force, forcing the bald warrior to raise his shield in a desperate, partial defense. The attack is swift and overwhelming, sending Jinwoo reeling backward, his own defenses shattered as he crashes to the ground, lamenting his failure. His mind races, a single thought echoing through the chaos. The crucial skill he had just activated has failed him. As he struggles to recover, another attacker, Redro, charges forward, urging his comrades to press the assault simultaneously. Jinwoo manages to regain his footing, intercepting Redro's strike with a burst of glowing purple energy, the impact momentarily pushing the attacker back. Clutching his side, he feels the pain of his wounds and the dwindling power of his skill, realizing he has only 30 seconds left and desperately needs a healing potion. With only 27 seconds remaining and a single potion left, he turns to flee, Redro hot on his heels. He struggles to regain his footing, but the armored warrior's kick connects, sending him reeling. "You're still alive?" the warrior taunts, as a gleaming spear, thrown with precision, pierces his shoulder. A sharp clang echoes as the projectile finds its mark, and a system message flashes, confirming the significant damage he's taken. He drops to one knee, gasping, the armored warrior looming over him while Redro prepares another strike. Barely recovering, he twists, narrowly evading Redro's next assault, then quickly pulls out 2 potions, downing them both. His strength and agility surge. But the cost of such potent elixirs weighs heavily on his mind, a fleeting thought of fried chicken momentarily distracting him from the battle. The armored warrior barks a command, urging his companion to close the distance. With a flash of blue energy and a spear thrust, the 2 attackers launch a coordinated assault, their weapons aimed at the protagonist. Watching the protagonist's impossible agility, the armored warrior scoffs, wondering how long he can keep up such evasive maneuvers. He weaves through the onslaught, a blur of motion leaving only afterimages in his wake. His thoughts race as he continues to evade, knowing he needs more time for his legs to fully recover. The armored warrior and his bald companion watch, their expressions a mix of frustration and grim determination. Suddenly, the protagonist halts his evasion, issuing a calm demand to hand over the contract, and nobody will get hurt. The armored warrior explodes in disbelief, his voice laced with fury at the audacity of the suggestion. The protagonist, however, remains outwardly composed, his mind calculating the dwindling effects of his temporary buffs as the potion cooldown time approaches its end. Still reeling from the unexpected turn of events, the bald man points an accusing finger, his voice laced with venom, declaring that the only one dying today is his opponent. He continues to taunt, mocking the armored man's current state and questioning what he could possibly do. Before the words can fully register, Jinwoo moves with blinding speed, a vibrant blue aura flaring around him as he launches a devastating, unseen attack. The armored man recoils violently, a shockwave of blue energy erupting around his head as he cries out in disbelief, realizing he's been struck. Jinwoo stands between his 2 stunned adversaries, a silent challenge in his gaze as he looks back at them. A flicker of self-reproach crosses his face, wondering why he allowed his guard to drop, even for a moment. With a serious expression, he suggests a truce, asking if they shouldn't be friends now, revealing that he has just eliminated Winston and gained experience points. A system window materializes, displaying Jinwoo's updated statistics, showcasing his class as Monarch's Descendant and his current title, Legend. Another window appears, detailing the Blacksmith's Rage quest, now showing progress as 3 out of 100 items have been acquired. As the system updates continue to flow, he learns more about the Blacksmith's Rage quest, discovering that the target, a once great blacksmith, had been subjected to severe stress, leading to alcohol dependency. Currently an incompetent old man, the system promises that if he can break free from his alcoholism, he will regain his status and, in turn, figure out Jinwoo's identity, offering great assistance. Along with this context, 2 new skills manifest. Blacksmith's Rage at level 1, which boosts attack power by 10% and attack speed by 30% for 20 seconds, and Legendary Blacksmith's Patience, a passive ability that will increase vitality, defense, and dexterity by 200% for 1 hour, without consuming mana, activating only if he continues to survive. A strange blue light pulses in the air, and Jinwoo feels a peculiar sensation, wondering what could be making everyone so comfortable. He looks up, a question forming in his mind, realizing this isn't just another monster they're facing, but something emitting a powerful, unsettling magic. Suddenly, Ridro's voice cuts through the air, filled with contempt, accusing Jinwoo of only being strong because of potions, before screaming at him like a cockroach. The warrior lunges forward, his spear blurring with aggressive intent. Jinwoo meets the attack, his dagger deflecting the blow with a sharp clang, a determined glint in his eyes as he declares his new level will make everything different from before. Before Ridro can recover, Jinwoo's fist connects with his face, sending a shockwave of impact through the air. He continues his relentless assault, his arm a blur of motion, as Ridro and his companions recoil in disbelief. Instead, make sure to die peacefully, the bald man shouts, his face contorted in fear. But Jinwoo doesn't pause, his body radiating a fierce blue energy, eyes glowing with an intense light. He closes the distance instantly, landing another brutal strike that sends Ridro reeling, blood spraying from the impact. Ridro, battered and shocked, can only manage a bewildered question. Why you? Are you crazy? Jinwoo's expression remains cold and determined. I need you guys so I can make you drink more potions. He follows up with a powerful kick to Ridro's stomach. Are you trying to run again, you bastard? Sending him flying back through the air, while the armored speaker cries out in terror. This is dangerous. I'll really die like this. Jinwoo then turns his gaze, a weapon now in hand, towards an unseen threat. A piece of armor, rent and twisted, flies through the air, a testament to the sheer force of the impact. Ridro recoils violently from the blow, as the armored speaker cries out. It's rough. He's getting stronger. Unfazed by the resistance, Jinwoo prepares another strike, his form crackling with a vibrant blue aura. The force of his next attack sends Ridro reeling once more, the bald listener exclaiming, that attack power is... Jinwoo follows up with a devastating kick, sending Ridro flying, while the armored speaker shouts in disbelief, it's going up again. He's not the type of hunter to get stronger. The armored speaker's face twists in frustration, muttering, you must be in a playful mood. Jinwoo looks down at his defeated opponent, a cold resolve in his eyes as he thinks, talk all you want. Despite his injuries, Ridro pushes himself up, his voice filled with unwavering determination. I want to protect my guild. Panmir watches the scene unfold, his expression one of surprised agreement. Of course. Panmir, his hand reaching for the hilt of a sword, declares that if he is the only one left to protect this place, then he will borrow what he needs to do so. He looks up, his gaze fixed on a towering figure before him. A sudden realization dawning on him as he exclaims, that particular item isn't something just anyone can use. With a resolute expression, he states, the only things one can truly rely on are the ones they already possess. Meanwhile, Jinwoo moves with blinding speed, a powerful kick sending an enemy flying through the air, as another foe shouts, what's the point of protecting something he's about to die for anyway? Jinwoo continues his relentless assault, striking down multiple adversaries while another enemy screams, it's over for you. Die. His hand glows with a vibrant blue energy as he begins to speak. Have you heard of a person being? His eyes now burning with an intense red light. He finishes his thought, overgeared? With a surge of golden energy, Jinwoo unleashes a devastating attack, engulfing a massive enemy in a brilliant, explosive impact. As the last of the creatures fall before him, Jinwoo feels a surge of power, the system confirming his rapid advancement. Panmir, witnessing the display, can only stare in disbelief, his mind struggling to comprehend the sheer speed and efficiency of the hunter's movements. He mutters to himself, wondering if what he just saw was even real. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light envelopes Jinwoo, transforming his appearance into a formidable, heavily armored warrior, the system displaying a new, powerful weapon now in his grasp. The armor itself seems to hum with immense power, its golden plates radiating an aura of invincibility as his updated stats flash into view. The new blade, the blazing dragon sword, gleams with an inner fire, a testament to his newfound overgeared status. Panmir, still reeling from the previous shock, watches as the golden light fades, his jaw dropping at the sight of the transformed hunter. A small smile plays on Jinwoo's lips as he casually remarks that he just took a peek at his new abilities. The sheer, overwhelming pressure emanating from him is almost unbearable, Panmir thinks, a sense of disbelief washing over him. He realizes he needs to be far more careful with his next guild choice, given the incredible power he just witnessed. Meanwhile, Jinwoo, clad in his new golden armor, casually muses that since the quest is complete, there's no reason to procrastinate. He needs to move on to his next challenge. Panmer's eyes widen in shock, his mind reeling at the thought of Jinwoo's next quest. He can barely comprehend that Jinwoo still has more quests to undertake, and desperately asks if he doesn't want to join his guild. Far from the dungeon's depths, an ornate, grand building stands majestically, its gates closed. Inside, a man in a red cap, his face etched with distress, exclaims that he can't believe someone is giving up on a quest they've been working on, especially after claiming not to care about their reputation. He apologizes profusely to a stern-faced woman with short dark hair, explaining that the available options are limited and he can't recommend them, who then sharply asks what he intends to do about it. The man is reminded that he is responsible for the compensation, both for the failed commission and the additional costs. His face contorts in desperation, pleading that he doesn't have enough money and begging for another chance. He listens intently as the woman before him speaks, her words cutting through the air with a sharp edge, reminding him that if he doesn't have the money, he'll have to make it. His brow furrowed in concern, he pleads for another chance, but she simply asks what he's thinking. She explains that it's a mystery, a confirmed commission that, like many others, has simply vanished. This man, known as Rabbit, is Valmont's strategist. He tries to explain that he can easily get rid of a servant who has been with his family for the last 20 years, but the woman cuts him off, stating that such a thing is not allowed. She continues, detailing how the servant had a witness who saw him return to the clinic about 2 hours ago, making his story difficult to believe. Rabbit, clearly distressed, insists that the young man must be lying about the incident. He clenches his hand, the ornate rings on his fingers glinting, lamenting that he could barely hold on, and now faces the prospect of losing this crucial opportunity. The woman, her expression unyielding, tells him she wants him to take care of this, to which he can only respond with a resigned, "Yes, ma'am." A satisfied sigh escapes Jinwoo as he savors his meal, finding it absolutely awesome. Later, settled comfortably on a couch, he reflects on his recent good fortune, acknowledging that he's been incredibly lucky lately, and wondering if he's connected to something greater, his thoughts drifting to a familiar armored figure. He focuses back on the glowing screen before him, reading the system's prompt about a new quest. The system continues, reminding him of an old man's words about taking care of his health. A warning he now takes to heart as the screen shifts, displaying a loading prompt. With a clear goal in mind, he thinks to himself, it's time to make some quick cash. Approaching a sprawling, yet impressive building, he notes its grandeur. Inside, an elderly man with a long white beard, Grit, greets him warmly, exclaiming, "Oh, you're here." Grit then inquires about someone's condition, asking, "How's he?" A nearby man responds that the individual remains unchanged, attributing their state to God's blessing. Turning his attention back to the protagonist, Grit states, "You said your name was Grit. It looks like I'll owe you for this time." The protagonist, in turn, instructs him to make sure to pay the man who helped you get discharged. Grit readily agrees, confirming, "I'll do that." He then adds, "Increasing God's blessing is a difficult problem, so it looks like you'll have to pay a fee." The protagonist, however, internally scoffs at the notion, thinking, nothing is God's blessing. As he walks away, he mutters, "I can see that," his thoughts firmly concluding that Grit is nothing more than a scammer. He approaches the older man, stating his purpose directly, "I'm here to ask for your help." The man, with a stern expression, responds, "I'm sorry, but I can't help you." He then adds, "If I hadn't seen your face, I would have sent you back to the temple." Jinwoo lets out a small sound of confusion, his gaze drawn to the intricate golden armor adorning the man's chest. As the man simply gestures to himself and the gear, uttering, "This." Now supporting the visibly distressed man, Jinwoo questions, "You're trying to tell me you need to be saved?" The man's face is etched with sorrow as he explains, "These are family heirlooms. Please understand that I can't give them to you. My family's honor is on the line." The golden armor glows with an inner light, a testament to its unparalleled craftsmanship, known as Panmer's battle gear, a masterpiece impossible to replicate. The man's name, it is revealed, is Panmer. He was the designer of the battle gear worn by Sungiel and Valerius, and the durability of his swords is unmatched, their blades perfect for cutting. Long ago, the ancestor of Panmer, the legendary blacksmith, fell to his knees, begging for his life, offering all his valuables in exchange for mercy from the imposing armored figure before him. Perhaps Panmer himself had once thought the same, believing he could avoid betrayal, but the man listening to him now was sure he wouldn't have considered it a betrayal at all. He had refused the offer, declaring that only a true owner would one day appear, and this was the very story the listener had just recounted. The elderly man, Grit, looked surprised, asking who had spoken those words, as he had to decline based on his own discretion. Jinwoo's eyes glowed with a fierce blue light as he considered the implications, wondering if this was the start of a new conflict, knowing hunters couldn't afford to have it taken by another user. He then admitted, quite honestly, that he was someone similar to Pagma. Grit's expression shifted to one of profound shock, his voice barely a whisper as he asked if Jinwoo had just mentioned Pagma. His surprise deepened, demanding to know if Jinwoo was Pagma's descendant, to which Jinwoo simply replied, "Well, that's right." A system window materialized before him, announcing the legendary blacksmith Pagma's legacy quest, and Jinwoo mused internally. I thought I'd receive a class change quest, but I guess I'm going to be a legendary blacksmith instead. I'm not going to be a legendary blacksmith, am I? He stands before Grit, who insists that proving his connection to Pagma will be impossible, demanding concrete evidence of his lineage. Grit muses, however, that if he truly is worthy of facing a legendary blacksmith, then perhaps the proof isn't so far-fetched. His demeanor shifts, a bottle and glass appearing in his hands as he excitedly suggests they celebrate their meeting if Jinwoo truly is Pagma's descendant. He grabs Jinwoo's arm, his enthusiasm overflowing as he declares they should wait until after the tournament to drink, urging him to win first. As Jinwoo turns to leave, a thought crosses his mind about Grit, remembering him as a hero of the Hero Company. Grit, confused by the mention of Hero Company, questions what it is and who used such a name. A serious expression settles on Grit's face as he decides he should investigate what Jinwoo had been talking about. Jinwoo, however, reminds him of a more pressing matter, the 600 gold owed to the Hero Company, adding that he already knows Grit lacks the means to pay the debt. Grit, seated on a barrel with the bald listener nearby, acknowledges the truth of the debt, but states he won't be able to hand over the money to go back, having only brought documents today. The Hero Company's claim on the blacksmith's workshop and its operating rights is a stark reality. Acknowledging the circumstances, Grit admits he cannot repay the debt at this moment. The bald listener, understanding the owner's perspective, confirms the debt is indeed too substantial for repayment. Grit then proposes a challenge. If the blacksmith can prove his skills are superior to the guild's own, the debt will be forgiven. He believes the victor of such a contest would inherently be more deserving of the smithy than any monetary claim. Jinwoo listens intently, his expression unreadable. Having waited for a favorable arrangement, Jinwoo offers a concession, stating that since repayment seems unlikely, he will provide an alternative, but Grit begins to protest, insisting on his own terms. Grit clarifies that he cannot permit Jinwoo to continue training without contributing, proposing that the winner of the blacksmith battle will represent them in the tournament instead of himself. The bald listener interjects, asking if this arrangement is acceptable, then adds a pointed question about the lack of a successor. The elderly man gestures towards Jinwoo, declaring him his successor, which draws a surprised gasp from the bald listener. From behind, Jinwoo listens as the bald listener questions the decision, pointing out the smithy's lack of a successor in the upcoming tournament. A system window appears before Jinwoo, outlining a new quest, an item production game with the Marrow Company. The clear condition is to win the game, with a reward of 500 Winston reputation, but failure would mean a decrease in reputation with Winston residents and a loss of 600 gold. A faint blue aura flickers around him as he processes the terms. His eyes widen slightly, muttering in disbelief at the seemingly small sum of 600 gold. The bald listener, still skeptical, addresses Jinwoo directly, suggesting he should leave if the challenge proves too daunting, claiming he doesn't suit the role. But Jinwoo's eyes flash with an intense red glow, causing the bald listener to recoil in sudden apprehension. Seeing the exchange, Grit calmly interjects, assuring them that the full details will be provided soon. He listens intently as the armored speaker explains the terms of the challenge, a high-stakes item production game. The speaker apologizes, stating that this is the only way to protect the company, and Jinwoo simply acknowledges the situation. Meanwhile, the strategist known as Rabbit, his eyes wide with a mix of shock and avarice, internally exclaims, I can even sell my soul for 720,000 won. The game, a first-class swordsmanship quest, requires him to craft a sword that wasn't designed in the current era, with success yielding a first-class change quest clear reward and a legendary class quest reward. Failure, however, means a significant loss of Winston reputation and a substantial amount of gold. His own statistics reveal him to be a level 100 human, with a focus on intelligence and dexterity, and a current reputation of 100. A system message details an A+ ranked item production quest from the Hero Company, requiring the defeat of monsters in Winston Forest, a task deemed impossible for battle-type quests as they are. Despite the difficulty, Jinwoo, the legendary blacksmith, boasts of his ability to craft epic items. While Grit dismisses the quest as a mere bluff, Jinwoo explains that he doesn't pursue business for money, but rather for the sheer enjoyment of crafting. Grit then questions why he hadn't reported the harassment to the guild, as the situation seems to have escalated. He reveals that the Lord is aligned with the Hero Company, making the guild's involvement complicated. Jinwoo, surprised, points out that Winston is part of the Tsadaka Guild's territory, and asks why they couldn't simply seek help from them. Grit clarifies that the Lord consistently interfered, preventing any direct assistance. Understanding the predicament, Jinwoo reassures Grit not to worry, promising to handle the battle himself, acknowledging Grit's trust in him. He listens intently as Grit, his expression gentle, offers a piece of wisdom, remarking that if his own son were still alive, he would have been about the same age. A confident smile plays on his lips as he replies, Don't get all sad on me, old man. I'm sure you'll feel better if you watch my amazing skills. Internally, he muses on the reason for his sudden, inexplicable strength, attributing it to his lucky charm rather than any inherent talent. Grit then hands him a small, wrapped object, observing that the young man reminds him of someone named Khan. He continues, noting that Jinwoo's warm speech and demeanor are very similar to his son's. The object in his hand begins to glow with an intense, fiery aura, emanating the heat and strength of steel. His eyes widen slightly, a flicker of surprise crossing his face as he takes in the item's power. A low groan escapes him, the unexpected intensity of the item clearly affecting him. Waking up, his stomach growls with an intensity that could rival a beast's roar. He feels so hungry, he could devour an entire cow. Meanwhile, in a different place, an elderly man named Khan reflects on the distinct qualities of his craft, noting how different his work feels compared to Smith from Bairam. Despite not being in his prime, Khan's skill as a high-class blacksmith remains undeniable. Back in his room, a thought crosses his mind, wishing he could learn more from Khan. He stares out the window, lost in contemplation, when a sudden realization hits him, a crazy idea finally forming in his mind. Later, as he enters the living area, a woman named Yona greets him warmly, asking if he was up late playing games again. He playfully corrects her, suggesting he'd be more grateful for grilled eel, to which she teases him about not even having a girlfriend. He retorts that he could get a girlfriend anytime he wanted, but Yona playfully reminds him how sensitive he gets when she suggests her baby could be his girlfriend. Still at the table, a concerned expression crosses his face. Yona, noticing his change in demeanor, asks if he said something wrong, while the young boy beside her looks on curiously. He quickly dismisses her concern, assuring her it's nothing, and suggests they check on the boy's condition another time. The boy grumbles softly, and Jinwoo remarks with a slight smile that he really had to bring him along. The scene shifts abruptly to the grand exterior of Manhwa Company, where a tense confrontation is underway inside, met with a sharp, incredulous, "What?" Inside, the bald listener, his face etched with frustration, demands to know why they engaged in such a useless endeavor. The strategist, Rabbit, responds with a question of his own, accusing them of making a deal behind his back. The bald listener, now visibly angered, repeats the accusation, his voice rising in disbelief. Rabbit, however, calmly clarifies his misunderstanding, explaining that he believed the cooperating company with the Tzedaka Guild was Manhwa Company. The armored speaker, still agitated, demands to know how Rabbit could possibly deny his actions, but Rabbit vehemently refutes the accusation, asserting his loyalty to the guild and dismissing the idea of making an unprofitable deal behind their backs. He then explains that Valmont's influence is already too strong, and it would be unwise for the Manhwa Company to allow it to grow further. The armored speaker counters, reminding him of the administrator's orders to resist under the pretense of grace, to which Rabbit dismissively retorts. Rabbit clarifies his strategy, explaining that gaining advantages through the exam will ultimately benefit their company, allowing them to reform the guild with grace. He continues, detailing how even the powerful Grand Valmont's company won't be able to ignore them, which will attract more customers, ensuring the project's success. The armored speaker, however, remains skeptical, questioning if the competing kid can truly win. Redro interjects, revealing that their investigation shows the competitor is merely a novice hunter with a poor reputation, but Rabbit, with a determined expression, states he has already promised to do whatever the kid wants. He sees this as an easy opportunity to resolve the problem at its root. Rabbit elaborates, dismissing the competitor as a harmless flyer, who isn't even a blacksmith, implying that the real threat is an unknown blacksmith. Within the quiet confines of a village building, a conversation unfolds. The bald listener leans forward, asking if it's true that the young hunter beat the veiled giants. While the elderly man with the white beard observes that the kid seems too naive to understand how the world truly works. Panmir, the blacksmith, acknowledges the hunter's skill, but doubts it will be enough to carry him through. His attention is then caught by a notice, his eyes widening in surprise as he reads it. He exclaims, realizing this is the very notice everyone has been talking about. The notice details a blacksmith competition. If Manhwa Company loses to Khan, they will help Khan pay his debt, but if Manhwa wins, Khan's smithy will be transferred to them, though Khan will retain operating rights. The company states their intention to coexist with the villagers and encourages their support. The bald listener questions why Manhwa Company would take such a significant risk, then muses that perhaps the potential damage isn't as bad as they initially thought. Panmir, however, interprets it differently, wondering if this means Manhwa Company is genuinely trying to find a way to coexist with the people. Though he doesn't outwardly show it, Paul feels a distinct sense of being underestimated, even as he observes that his companions are nicer than he expected. A soft tearing sound echoes as he rips a piece of paper, his expression thoughtful. Meanwhile, the elderly Grit questions aloud if the young man is truly participating in the blacksmith competition held by Manhwa Company, prompting the bald listener to retort, asking how Grit could be fooled when he was the one who first pointed it out. The bald listener concedes, admitting his age might be catching up to him, before wondering if the young man is truly deceived, especially after having rewarded them previously. Paul, overhearing their conversation, nods in agreement, acknowledging that he almost fell for it too. He holds a document, his gaze fixed on its contents, deep in thought. Based on what he'd heard, Paul states that Manhwa Company acquired the trading rights from the citizens at a bargain, seemingly unaware of Winston's development plans. A fleeting image of Paul in formidable armor flashes through his mind, a stark contrast to his current attire. He then questions if the sale was forced at the time, muttering a dismissive remark about the jerk responsible. He stands, a faint green light hovering above his head, a clear sign that he is a user. The armored speaker explains how the Marrow Company had exchanged rights for money and items, taking advantage of their ignorance regarding Winston's development plans, insisting that while they couldn't claim force, the company had effectively owned their rights. His voice rising in indignation, he demands they take back the unfair deal, questioning if they were merely a gift from the company. He presses the point, suggesting that if they were to admit the truth, things would change. Paul, holding a glowing orb, realizes this was the same trick the company had tried to pull on him, concluding that they owed him a significant debt. The bald listener agrees, adding that if the company fails to pay up, the situation might even improve for them. As he processes the implications, Paul senses a shift in the situation's flow, wondering about the identity of the user, who had just been mentioned, and recalling the details of the blacksmith competition. The Marrow Company had agreed to compete, with the winner granting Khan the right to use their forge, and the rewards including the exploitation of emotions, forge rights, and the blacksmith becoming a club member, while failure would mean a collapse in Winston's production and the Marrow Company falling under the blacksmith's control. An older man with a long white beard and flowing gray hair regards Jin Woo, asking him directly, before quickly adding, sorry, I forgot to introduce myself after becoming concerned about this. Jin Woo, now clad in a different set of armor, responds simply, is my name. The older man observes the change in attire, noting aloud that Jin Woo alters his outfit so casually, prompting the young hunter to wonder internally, who the hell is he? The older man continues, explaining that under his rule, there exists a local law called the right of the people. Jin Woo's eyes widen slightly in surprise, repeating the phrase to himself, the right of the people. An older man with a long white beard and flowing hair explains that the people have a right to be informed about any developments within their area, especially when it concerns the Earl. He continues, stating that this right greatly affects the northern cities and villages, particularly due to the ongoing developments in the north. A younger man, listening intently, confirms that they had prepared information for the citizens, but the Earls had prevented its dissemination. The older man nods, acknowledging that the problem then lies with the company, which is under the Earl's direct control. The younger man smiles wryly, adding that the Earl is also at fault for allowing the company to withhold information about the development. The older man agrees, confirming that this is precisely the reason for their current predicament. He then declares his intention to appeal to the Earl, believing it is the only way to address the issues with both the Lord and the company. The younger man looks on, as the older man reiterates his plan to appeal to the Earl on behalf of the Lord and the company. With a scroll in hand, the older man, Hiro, resolves to secretly deliver the appeal directly to the Earl. Hiro expresses his profound relief, having finally found a solution to their predicament, while his younger companion looks on thoughtfully. Observing the scene from a distance, Jinwoo wonders what exactly the older man had just done. The younger man clarifies, explaining that Hiro didn't merely persuade the Earl to listen, but rather compelled his attention. Catching sight of the armored figure, Jinwoo calls out to him. The armored figure, Rabbit, turns to him, pointing out a familiar statue from the smithy. Jinwoo confronts him directly, questioning why the quest he received from the Hero Guild has been altered. Rabbit, looking at his device, offers to share the updated quest information. A system window appears before Jinwoo, detailing the new objective. He is to report the kingdom's atrocities to the Earl, exposing the company's corruption, with the clear condition of gaining an audience with Earl Eder. His eyes widen in disbelief as he reads the incredible rewards for completing such a task. He listens intently as Rabbit explains the new quest, the strategist's words carrying a subtle challenge. Rabbit continues, revealing the quest's true nature, to expose the kingdom's atrocities and the Earl's company, promising a hidden reward for success. He clarifies that the goal is to gain an audience with Earl Eder, a task that will require significant effort and cunning. The strategist then details the rewards, a permanent increase to courage, a new title, and an unnameable mystery skill, all of which will be revealed upon completion. As the full scope of the altered quest sinks in, Jinwoo's expression shifts from confusion to disbelief, a single question escaping his lips. His face contorts in a mixture of frustration and anger, the absurdity of the situation becoming overwhelming. Rabbit, oblivious to the hunter's growing ire, presses on, suggesting they become friends, a proposition that only fuels the protagonist's exasperation. Unable to contain his outrage any longer, he explodes in a furious shout. His voice echoes with pure exasperation, demanding an immediate exit from this bizarre predicament. A bright, ethereal glow emanates from the system interface before Jinwoo, its light reflecting in his eyes. He processes the information, a slight frown creasing his brow as the system explains, the quest is not yet complete. You must expose the kingdom's atrocities and the Earl's company to gain an audience with Earl Eder. The voice, or perhaps the system itself, continues, orator. He mutters to himself, it's harder for me to raise my attack if my attack is using the art of conversation. His thoughts drift to the rewards. The quest is limited. I have to raise my courage, honor, and skills. The most important thing is that I don't have any escape skills. The system then highlights the potential gains. Every time I gain 10 stat points, my attack and defense also increase. Max affinity/reputation with the Winston citizens. Letter's gift. Apostle of Justice. Open the courage stat. Plus 10 stat points. Learn the unbreakable justice skill. He sighs, so I have to get that mystery skill. I can't believe I'm getting smoothly dragged into doing an S-rank quest. His gaze hardens as he considers the next step. I need to pass that gate to go to Letter. A wry smile touches his lips. Good thing I wanted to go outside. He considers the situation, realizing that if he wants to convince them, he'll need to let them make the first move. Beyond the heavily guarded doors, a line of armored figures stands ready. He observes their rigid stance, a sense of foreboding washing over him as he notes their lack of reaction, finding it ominous. When they refuse to answer him, he reiterates that he was told not to do so. He then inquires about Rabbit's whereabouts, wondering where the man could be. Meanwhile, an elderly man with a stern expression speaks, informing Sir Hero that he was told to report to him after his investigation. Back with the protagonist, he muses that this will require him to use his prevarication skill, believing that if he can convince them, he can do as he wishes. He reflects on his earlier wandering, realizing he might have created a commotion, which could provide the basis for his instigation. Suddenly, the elderly man from before appears, stating, "Seems like I overestimated you." He stands before the armored figures, a grim realization dawning on him that there is no other interpretation of his actions except betrayal. His attempt at persuasion, a skill he had hoped would smooth things over, fails completely. The lead armored guard, his expression stern, explains that his experience has prepared him for such an eventuality, and that he trusts Jinwoo understands the necessity of his imprisonment. Realizing he cannot abandon the quest, Jinwoo knows he must escape. He lunges forward in a blur, but is immediately repelled by an unseen force, recoiling from the impact. Undeterred, he vows to turn their own strength against them, and strikes back with a powerful blow, sending the armored speaker reeling. At this rate, he realizes he won't even be able to get out of the dungeon, prompting him to make the decisive choice to log out. His attempt to log out of the game is met with an abrupt system message, declaring that he is unable to leave at this time. As he processes the denial, a voice from off-panel sternly warns him to stop, reminding him that active skills are forbidden. The armored guard, now visible alongside another warrior, clarifies the situation. While revival is always an option, failure means imprisonment at their discretion. A man in glasses, his expression serious, adds a chilling detail, confirming their location as the castle's underground prison. Suddenly, a system notification appears, updating his current quest for the residents of Winston to a new objective. Wait, 3. A more detailed message flashes across his vision, explaining his capture by Baron Valmont's men and the impossibility of escaping the underground prison. His clear condition for release is to prevent an imposter from escaping, or else Baron Valmont himself will intervene. The system also imposes a strict 50-hour logout restriction, with logging out resulting in failure. Jinwoo stares at the impossible conditions, his jaw clenching in silent frustration. He tries once more to log out, but the system again denies him, prompting a bewildered outburst as he questions what is happening. The system displays a log out button, along with a reminder of his past endurance, but the current restriction remains firm. He learns that the capsule system will automatically log him out if he exceeds a certain time limit, imposing a 6-hour penalty. With the system confirming he's already logged in for 6 hours, matching the penalty duration, the armored speaker and Redro look on, concerned that this situation could become mentally dangerous. But the armored speaker dismisses their worries, reasoning that as a jobless hermit in real life, no one will disturb him anyway. Meanwhile, Jinwoo, surrounded by a vibrant blue aura, focuses on the capsule's trance mode, wondering what it holds for him, determined not to miss a single second of the game, knowing he won't get another chance. With a glowing hand, he declares his readiness, accepting the quest, and initiating a timer set for 41 hours and 15 minutes. The quest board appears, detailing the second-class quest. Wait, 3. Overcome anxiety, requiring him to be the Apostle of Justice's partner, open the courage stat, and endure anxiety while with the Apostle. Failure means being logged out, but with no penalty. As trance mode activates, the system warns him that he is now being monitored, and if he logs out, the capsule is in danger, with forced logout resulting in the capsule's execution and a complete restart. Looking out a window, he considers the system's logic. It will automatically log out a player in trance mode to protect the capsule if there are no external threats. With a plea to an unseen entity, he asks for help to complete this quest, promising unwavering loyalty in return. He rests within the capsule, his eyes closed, as a silent promise echoes in his mind. I'll be waiting. Suddenly, a system window materializes, introducing the Apostle of Justice, a figure identified as Hero, and presenting a new quest. The quest, titled For the Residents of Manhwa, AU, details how Manhwa's residents have been greatly damaged by the Apostle of Justice, who was originally meant to be their protector. Jinwoo is tasked with becoming the Apostle's partner, earning their trust, and guiding them to a new path. The objectives include gaining the Apostle's trust, maximizing their affinity, and raising their courage stat to 100. The quest offers a reward of a courage stat increase and a skill book upon completion, with no penalty for failure. High above the city, within the sleek, modern confines of a towering skyscraper, a sophisticated system operates, constantly monitoring changes in user behaviors. With over 50 billion users and countless outside variables, the system cannot afford to make any mistakes, a fact that weighs heavily on the strategist, Rabbit, as he observes the data flowing across his holographic screens. Suddenly, a critical alert flashes across his display. Team leader Lim Keelho. Quest 840B has been triggered. Rabbit's eyes widen in surprise, realizing the immense implications of this hidden quest, which carries very difficult conditions to be met. As he turns away from the screens, preparing to authorize an emergency meeting, he considers the monumental reward. If the user succeeds, they will be granted the choice to have two classes. A deep concern etched across his features, Yoon-hyuk considers the gravity of the situation, knowing that if things go wrong, the user could be in grave danger. Meanwhile, high above the city streets, a critical meeting is already underway within the towering corporate headquarters. The subject of their discussion is projected onto a holographic display. A 25-year-old named Gwang-ho, the individual who has activated Quest 840B, a message also being sent to Hero. An executive at the conference table leans forward, explaining that this quest is truly astounding, representing a mere 1% of all available classes. Another voice, a woman's, adds to the revelation, noting that the reward for completing it is an unprecedented 2 classes, a reward that is half of what was offered for a quest related to his own class. Back in his office, Yoon-hyuk prepares to connect to the ongoing discussion, confirming the presence of Director Yoon, Sung-yoon, and the World Management Branch Manager. His holographic image appears before the assembled executives, identifying him as Yoon-hyuk, the Mongol branch manager, with all executive members of his branch present. He then addresses the group, stating that he believes the meeting regarding the quest is concluded, and once they confirm the details, they can proceed immediately. He continues the high-stakes meeting, revealing that they've also received a report from the Mongolian government. Then, with a serious expression, Yoon-hyuk announces a new proposal they wish to make. The elder, Hiro, clarifies the proposal's intent, to publicize the fact that a user now has the chance to gain a second class. Yoon-hyuk explains the strategic advantage, believing that if people learn the user who activated this rare second class is Mongolian, it will significantly increase the flow of users into Mongolia, thereby boosting their market. Hiro agrees, noting the difficulty in controlling the market and seeing this as a prime opportunity, while also mentioning the Mongolian government's negative view on the current situation. However, the bald listener interjects, questioning the optimism and asking what they'll do if the user fails the quest, fearing it could lead to fake hype. Yoon-hyuk dismisses the concern, stating that the success or failure of the quest won't ultimately matter. He elaborates that as long as there are no major problems, there shouldn't be any negative impact, especially since the quest is already active and must be cleared. Turning to the strategist, Rabbit, Yoon-hyuk demands to know who led him to believe the quest was safe, prompting a hesitant response from the team leader. He listens intently as a woman on the phone reports, "I'm passing on the details. The Mongolian government has a negative view of the current situation regarding Quest 840B, but it's fine." Yoon-hyuk's eyes widen slightly as he processes the information, muttering, "Just." His expression shifts to one of profound shock, a silent exclamation escaping him as he stares at the screen. He leans back, a hand rising to his chin in thought, then asks, "Wait, didn't Rabbit say there was no hidden quest?" The screen before him then reveals a critical detail. The user locked in the underground dungeon will meet a hidden swordsman. The woman points to the screen, confirming, who rescues him after hearing of the situation in the Forgotten Village. A determined smile spreads across Yoon-hyuk's face as he declares, "This will allow us to gain great rewards. As long as the hidden swordsman is even half as good as Rabbit described, we'll be clearing the quest." His smile widens into a triumphant, almost maniacal grin. "Wah!" He turns to the woman, his eyes gleaming with ambition, and asks, "Oh, one more thing. Can you give me the details of the hidden swordsman again?" He continues to explain the situation, revealing that the user had chosen to share the quest. The other man, taken aback, questions the implications of sharing such a document, wondering what it could possibly mean. Yoon-hyuk clarifies that originally, Hiro would have been rescued by a swordsman during the Winston incident, but the user shared the quest information with someone else. This act, he explains, caused the hidden NPC to become obsolete. A frustrated sigh escapes the listener as he processes the information, muttering about the user who shared it. Yoon-hyuk then drops the bombshell, revealing the user's name, Gwang-ho. Gwang-ho, now visibly agitated, slams his hand on the bar counter, exclaiming that he only received a paltry sum of gold for his troubles. His anger boils over, demanding to know why he wasn't given the awesome quest in the first place. In a memory, Hiro calmly states that the user only spent a few coins, while Gwang-ho bitterly retorts that he paid Hiro's hospital bill. Jinwoo, seated at a table, considers the simple meal before him, a memory surfacing from a time when he was asked if he could get pancakes or soup for free. The city lights gleam outside a window. As he recalls a phone call, the familiar complaint echoing in his mind. It's always like this. He stands with a young woman, her voice filled with concern, asking if he truly thinks he should be the one to nag her brother. A slight scoff escapes him, a hint of amusement in his expression. The woman, now on the phone, presses him further, inquiring if he had been drinking. Standing before him once more, she insists that she cannot simply abandon him. A confident, almost smug smile spreads across his face, as if he knows something she doesn't. The woman looks thoughtful, a question forming on her lips, wondering aloud. What? Then, a different voice cuts through the memory, a stark declaration. The success rate for this quest is probably 0%, not 5%. Yunhyuk explains that the success rate for the quest is not guaranteed, even with the support of the guild, as Gwangho listens intently. He clarifies that this is because the quest's difficulty is tied to the awakening of the quest user, and that success cannot be guaranteed. Gwangho simply asks, what? Yunhyuk continues, stating that the quest's difficulty is determined by the quest user's growth, and that the system's success rate is merely a reference. Gwangho, growing visibly frustrated, curses under his breath, lamenting that he truly dislikes this Shin Youngwoo fellow. Yunhyuk, however, points out that the man is a legendary class, yet still only at level 13. Gwangho's frustration boils over as he exclaims, what in the world is he doing the whole time? He questions if obtaining such a class wasn't enough for him. A holographic projection of Jinwoo appears before them, his image shimmering with blue light. Yunhyuk, looking surprised, mutters about another hidden quest, then adds, this bastard. Gwangho, still agitated, concludes that this person is simply impossible to satisfy. Yunhyuk's voice carries a note of disbelief, wondering how someone could possess a legendary class yet still be at such a low level. He questions what the individual had been doing all this time, finding it unfathomable that someone seemingly without talent could achieve such a feat. A holographic projection of Jinwoo flickers into view, displaying his current status. Rabbit, his expression grim, observes the data, noting that the individual is rapidly gaining power. Hiro, with a thoughtful gaze, remarks on the dangerous implications of such a person's insatiable drive. Yunhyuk, standing beside Gwangho, asserts that the situation is already beyond their control, and attempting to publicize it would be disastrous. The holographic display shifts, detailing how the legendary class has led to epic-rated quests and hidden class change quests. Yunhyuk admits that predicting the outcome is difficult, but confesses a certain anticipation. He is an exceptional individual, Yunhyuk states, one who simply cannot be matched. Since he was the only one who had ever obtained a legendary class, currently, in the entire world, there are only 2 other such classes, known as Satisfy. With the exception of the most ancient being, the Gold Warrior, the details of these 2 others have not been shared with the world. Nothing about the first one is revealed at all, and the second belongs to the 7th-placed ranker of the United States. That's why the debates in guild communities have died down when it comes to this topic, prompting Rabbit to ask what these 2 other legendary classes are. He also wonders, who in the world is the user with the first epic class? The scene opens on the vast, open sky above the Earlstein territory, marking the entrance to the rare dungeon. A massive, ancient stone structure looms under the clear sky, its imposing architecture hinting at the dangers within. Inside, a group of adventurers gathers, with the armored speaker addressing a newcomer, explaining that this is just a typical hunt in the middle of the dungeon, nothing to worry about, and offering to share all their drops if she comes along. Gwangho questions his companion, the orange-haired mage, wondering why she didn't even give him a second to think before joining the party, and what has her in such a hurry. The armored speaker points out a trail of blood, reminding everyone that the girl who left them is right behind her. The orange-haired mage quickly apologizes, promising to be more careful from now on. The armored speaker grins, confirming her promise. Suddenly, a chilling announcement echoes through the dungeon. Monsters have appeared. The adventurers brace themselves, facing a horde of glowing-eyed creatures, the armored speaker declaring that they will be the ones to claim everything. He unleashes a scorching heat wave, a burst of fiery energy erupting from his hand, which slams into an unseen target with a thunderous roar, sending an explosion of light and debris across the dungeon. Nearby, another adventurer draws his bowstring taut, the arrow glowing with a faint, ethereal light. The armored speaker, not to be outdone, calls forth a lightning rod, crackling electricity gathering in her palm. The bolt strikes with blinding speed, a sharp flash illuminating the cavern. A massive impact follows, tearing through the air with a deafening roar, as the lightning tears apart whatever it touched. More debris rains down, the echoes of the blast still reverberating. Amidst the chaos, the orange-haired mage stands calmly, watching the destruction around her, a dismissive thought crossing her mind. There's nothing special about any of them. With a determined gaze, she prepares her own devastating spell, a vortex of madness ready to be unleashed. A colossal vortex of scorching fire and raw energy erupts, tearing through the landscape as the orange-haired mage unleashes her devastating spell. Watching the sheer destructive force, the armored speaker remarks that she must have reached a new level of power. Ridro, his eyes wide, lets out a thunderous shout of awe. Gwangho, recognizing the caster, exclaims, "That's her." From a distance, Jinwoo observes the mage, a calculating glint in his eye, thinking she would make a perfect target. His eyes begin to glow with an ominous light as he dismisses the other combatants as mere small fry. With a sudden burst of speed, he charges forward, a blur of motion aimed directly at the mage. A system message flashes into existence, confirming the activation of his skill, Gambling Frenzy, Level 3. Blue energy particles swirl around him as another message appears, announcing a successful duplication. A skill window materializes, detailing Swirling Frenzy, Level 3, a powerful vortex that scales with the user's agility, capable of holding targets for 5 seconds at a mana cost of 700. This formidable ability is housed within a glowing, ornate device, a one-time use item that can be permanently stored until its activation. The orange-haired mage, Euphemina, a level 108 duplicate, holds the device, a determined expression on her face, uttering a soft farewell. Until next time. Elsewhere, a strategist with a cap inquires, "Join our party, Miss Euphemina?" He and an armored warrior await her response, the strategist prompting her again, "Well, Euphemina." A surge of blue energy flares as she declares, "Enough be with this skill." The immense effort behind it is clear. It took 60 days to prepare for this. High in a desolate, snowy mountain range, a massive, ancient gate stands imposing. And before it, Euphemina glows with power, reflecting on the monumental task ahead. All this just to clear this S-rated quest. Now in a different, more practical outfit, she sighs, "Phew, I need to mentally prepare myself." The weight of the quest, heavy on her mind. Euphemina, a level 108 duplicate, stands before a massive, dark structure, her thoughts consumed by the daunting S-rated quest ahead, a challenge she finds truly frightening. Yet, despite the danger, she acknowledges the immense power of the reward, a prize that makes the risk worthwhile. As she turns away from the imposing quest gate, she recalls whispers of a hunter even stronger than boss monsters. Climbing the stairs, she muses, perhaps it's the strongest hunter of the Sahara Desert. Meanwhile, the armored speaker, his expression serious, inquires if she was sent by Adolphe. Unaware of the question, Euphemina's resolve hardens, her voice firm as she declares her capability, confident in the meticulous preparation she undertook for this very moment, including the 60 days required for her Swirling Frenzy LV3 skill. A surge of energy crackles around her. As she looks upward, bathed in a brilliant light, her determination shining through. As she stands ready for the S-rated quest, the armored speaker holds a glowing orb, questioning her resolve. A surge of blue energy erupts from the orb, enveloping the speaker in a powerful aura as he prepares for battle. Meanwhile, Euphemina herself is wreathed in a similar blue glow, her expression resolute as she considers her limited arsenal. She notes that she possesses only 9 basic skills. Though she can only use one of them once every 3 months, a special device now allows her to bypass this restriction, granting her the freedom to use them to her heart's content. Even with this advantage, the device allows for only a single use of each skill. But as the armored speaker lunges, Euphemina deftly evades his attack, confident that her preparations are sufficient to clear the quest. She declares her true nature, revealing herself as a duplicator. Before unleashing an epic class skill, a crimson aura flaring around her as she prepares to satisfy the quest's demands. The armored speaker quickly erects a counter barrier, a shimmering blue shield against the incoming assault. But the force of the attack is immense, engulfing him in a blinding flash of red energy. He coughs, reeling from the impact, unable to comprehend the sheer power behind such a skill. Euphemina, her hands glowing with fierce energy, unleashes another devastating ability, Growling Frenzy. The air erupts in a violent explosion of light and force, consuming everything in its path. She thinks to herself that he likely won't recover from this barrage. With unwavering resolve, she declares she will give everything she has, channeling yet another skill, Scorching Heat Wave. A torrent of destructive magic follows, a wave of light, storm's abyss, and a growl of darkness converging into a single, cataclysmic blast. The relentless assault continues, a spectacle of cruel destruction tearing through the battlefield. She looks down at the devastation, a question hanging in the air. Did her overwhelming assault truly succeed? But as the dust settles and the smoke clears, the grim reality sets in. He is still alive, completely defying her expectations. A wave of disbelief washes over her, realizing that even after unleashing high-ranked skills, her opponent remains unfazed, his condition far more formidable than she could have imagined. A pained gasp escapes her lips as she feels her own reserves dwindling, her mana running dangerously low, making it impossible to sustain the fight. Her focus narrows on the rapidly depleting energy within her, a stark reminder of her limits. From the swirling chaos, the armored speaker emerges, his long white hair flowing around him, a dark, powerful aura radiating from his form, untouched by the previous onslaught. He stands amidst the wreckage, completely unscathed, a testament to his incredible resilience. As his voice cuts through the air with a chilling promise to end her, Euphemina recoils, the weight of her defeat and the inevitability of her fate crashing down upon her. From a distance, Hiro observes the unfolding scene, a quiet acknowledgement of the inevitable end to this confrontation. A blonde-haired figure recoils, a look of terror etched across their face, realizing the overwhelming power of their opponent. They know this is an enemy they cannot hope to fight, and their only option is to escape. Meanwhile, a white-haired figure with piercing yellow eyes looms, offering a chilling promise. a swift, quick death. A surge of blue energy erupts with a resounding BWOM, as the blonde-haired figure desperately thinks, they need to stop this. But the white-haired figure is already in motion, their hands swirling with vibrant purple energy, casting a potent spell. The air crackles as the spell takes form, revealing its true name, Nightmare Projection. The white-haired figure's eyes glow with an ominous purple light, the magic intensifying around them. Surrounded by a maelstrom of dark energy, the white-haired figure challenges their foe, asking if they are finally ready to face despair. A dark, swirling orb manifests, the essence of the Nightmare Projection spell, a technique designed to trap the enemy in a deep illusion. Euphemina braces herself, a determined glint in her green eyes, knowing she has been reserving this particular skill for a moment just like this. From above, the white-haired mage, Hiro, watches her efforts with a dismissive air, assuring her that the illusion will wear off soon, and she is merely wasting her precious mana fighting a mirage. He continues to taunt her, asking why she doesn't simply pour all her mana into escaping his powerful spell, as a stark warning flashes across her vision. She has reached her physical and mental limits, having expended an excessive amount of force in a short period of time. A look of panic crosses Euphemia's face as she realizes her skills don't seem to last as long as she needs them to, leaving her with only one option, to run. Her eyes widen in disbelief, the full weight of the illusion's success crashing down on her. Yet, a flicker of resolve returns to her gaze, knowing that even before her mana fully recovers, she must act. She begins to fall, while Hiro remains suspended in the air, observing her descent. A subtle smirk plays on his lips, a silent acknowledgement of his illusion's overwhelming power. She stares in disbelief, the monstrous form of her opponent solidifying before her eyes, unable to comprehend the reality of what she sees. A heavy sigh escapes her, as the weight of impending failure settles in, the quest slipping through her grasp. The system confirms her worst fears, declaring the quest abandoned. The stark words "quest failed" echo the crushing reality of her efforts, the shaping process halted indefinitely. 2 months of relentless dedication, now utterly wasted, reduced to nothing. A golden opportunity for a new title, a new class, all gone. Frustration boils over, a desperate cry escaping her lips about never again finding an S-ranked quest. Suddenly, a voice cuts through her despair, asking if she is Ms. Arena. The figure, now fully visible, announces a message, leaving Arena to wonder what news could possibly await her. Rabbit addresses Arena, informing her that if she isn't too busy, they are calling for her to take on a task. As a blue system screen materializes before her, she sees that a new quest has been generated, replacing the previously failed shaped out of a man monster with item production game. Her expression shifts to one of surprise, a silent gasp escaping her lips. The details of the new quest unfold, promising 1,000 gold, a new title, and significant stat increases upon completion, making her scoff at the idea of being called to work for such rewards. Her hand reaches out, glowing faintly as she considers the implications, muttering about the prestige of being an item producer and the amazing items she could create. A determined smile spreads across her face as she declares her acceptance of the item production game quest, ready for the challenges and rewards it promises. The system confirms her decision, displaying the message, "You have accepted the quest, item production game, unknown." A new journey begins, marked by a building bearing the sign "New Game Start." Hiro stands over Jinwoo, his voice firm, declaring that he won't send someone he cares about to die, explaining that an outsider like him would attract too much attention. But Jinwoo insists he can't bear to put his benefactor in such danger. Kneeling, he confesses that if someone he considers family were to die, he wouldn't be able to live with himself, prompting Hiro to tell him to stop crying. Later, Jinwoo asks if the training dates have been decided yet. To which Hiro sighs, calling it a bad idea, but confirms that Guild Master Valmont has already sent a messenger. As he continues to use his skills, his proficiency keeps getting better and better, and the precision and efficiency of his movements have also developed for the better. He has crafted a grade S item, increasing all his stats by 2 and boosting his reputation across the continent. After countless hours of dedicated work, an epic graded item is successfully forged, instantly increasing all of his stats by 2 and boosting his reputation by 50%. His persistence and dexterity stats also rise, confirming that his class development is truly wonderful, though the effort leaves him visibly drained. The workshop around him bears witness to his relentless labor, and he finally collapses onto a chair. A sigh escapes him as he admits, "I'm completely burned out." Despite the exhaustion, a thought crosses his mind. "I wonder how much I've improved." He reflects on his progress, noting, "I've made so many items, but that's all I've improved." His blacksmithing technique and bravery skills remain at a mere 1%, with the Zappa armor being a rare exception. He muses, "Well, I suppose I can't expect to gain good materials with." His current stats flash before his eyes, revealing his class as Magma's descendant and impressive numbers across the board, including 104 strength and 99 agility. Through crafting alone, he has earned a staggering 130 stat points. He considers the sheer amount of dexterity he's gained, realizing it's almost enough to rival his strength, a stat he'd always prioritized. A slight grin touches his lips as he thinks about the 60 points he's poured into dexterity, a number that suddenly feels insignificant as a system message flashes before his eyes, announcing a massive increase in his dexterity stat, followed by a loud, echoing ding. His eyes widen in disbelief, a small gasp escaping him as he stares at the updated numbers, the system confirming his dexterity has now reached an astonishing 110 points. He glances at a piece of armor, a silent acknowledgement that his combat skills still lag behind, a gap he needs to close. He knows he'll have to keep pushing himself, especially with his current lack of combat prowess. A determined look settles on his face, knowing that despite the gains, the real work is far from over. A soft thump accompanies his resolve, a quiet promise to himself that he's not about to give up. He knows this is sacred treasure, and he will show them exactly what a lackey is capable of. Meanwhile, the day of the competition dawns bright over Winston Central Square, where the village square is already bustling, covered with NPCs and users alike. Among the gathered crowd, a hooded observer notes that everyone is here today, apparently to support the smithy from being taken over by a big company, leading him to conclude that the smithy's owner has nothing left to lose. The crowd roars with excitement, shouting encouragement for their champion, urging him not to lose. Back in his workshop, Jinwoo lets out a small chuckle, reaffirming his resolve. He is a lackey, and that is precisely why he must win, to show them all what a lackey truly is. Elsewhere, an older man asks Barrett if everything is prepared, to which Barrett confidently replies, "Yes, master," eager to show the contents of their competition. A blonde-haired woman descends into view, drawing gasps and cheers from the onlookers. The crowd erupts in excitement, many wondering aloud about her identity and prowess, as she winks playfully at her adoring fans, acknowledging their fervent cheers. From a distance, Jinwoo watches the spectacle, a thought crossing his mind about her overwhelming power. He notes the fervent cheering for her, finding some comfort that at least the local residents seem to be on his side. Meanwhile, a group of men in the crowd are utterly captivated by her beauty. Elsewhere, a man with glasses asks his companion to locate someone. Jinwoo reacts with a surprised "oh." His female companion chides him to stop playing around and find the person, adding that the target is probably about his height, a comment he takes as a jab at his own stature. He offers a slight nod, acknowledging her presence, remarking that she looks nice, but quickly adds that someone with her arrogant demeanor shouldn't be walking around like that. Her eyes widen in disbelief, utterly shocked that any man would dare treat her with such disrespect. A collective gasp ripples through the surrounding crowd, who are equally stunned by the audacity of his words. He quickly corrects himself, clarifying his age, then, with a sudden shift in tone, declares that the competition can now begin. A young mage with vibrant orange hair stares wide-eyed at an unseen display, her brow furrowed in disbelief. She mutters to herself, "It's a win, I'll gain more luck, right?" But, meanwhile, the system announces an item production gate is now open, with Volmont strategist, the blacksmith hero, and Rabbit designated as the first to enter. Jinwoo, observing this, wonders aloud, is it because that guy's ability is still unknown to the public? The orange-haired mage, still processing the news, stands before a glowing forge, her expression thoughtful. "Well, it doesn't matter now," she continues, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. "I already have a strategist in mind. Just duplicate his skill." Jinwoo, however, remains skeptical, his gaze sharp as he considers the implications. If it's the same skill, then it's a gamble. Luck will produce a different result. It's a gamble, but it's still a 0-0. Euphemina, the orange-haired mage, considers her options, a hint of uncertainty in her expression. Meanwhile, Barrett, the blonde competitor, hammers away at an anvil, sparks flying with each powerful strike. Euphemina's eyes widen in alarm, realizing he's already reached the crucial forging stage. She clenches her fists, a determined glow emanating from her hands, unwilling to let anyone gain an advantage. She knows that even the finest item, like the legendary blacksmith skill with its contaminate ability, is useless without the corresponding blacksmith skill to wield it. This realization solidifies her resolve, leading her to a drastic decision. With a surge of yellow energy, Euphemina activates her skill duplication ability. Unaware of her actions, Barrett continues his relentless forging, the rhythmic clang of his hammer echoing through the space. Euphemina's eyes widen in disbelief, her mind reeling at the impossible sight before her. Barrett's forging skill, she realizes, is already at level 7. While the young man himself, surrounded by the vibrant glow of his work, simply asks, "What are you staring at? It's pissing me off." Her shock intensifies, a single word escaping her lips. "What?" The reality of his skill level hits her again, an impossible feat, as she recalls having duplicated a master blacksmith skill at level 5 herself just moments ago. How could he be so far ahead? Watching him continue his work, she questions how he could possibly be a master craftsman when the continent's top blacksmith is only an intermediate, concluding there's no way he could be a master. A chilling thought begins to form, her expression twisting in dawning horror as she whispers, "Wait, don't tell me." The realization solidifies, a desperate "no" escaping her lips, as she remembers that only users with unique classes possess epic class skills, like her own. As Barrett stands confidently amidst his glowing forge, the answer becomes clear. He must be a player with a unique class. With a determined glint in her eye, she resolves to act, knowing that if she doesn't do something now, it will all be over. Irina, still reeling from her discovery, voices her concern about the unique class user, Barrett, who is the only one participating on stage. Her strategist, Rabbit, listens as she laments, admitting she doesn't want to compete against him, fearing she'll lose and be embarrassed. Meanwhile, Hiro, observing the exchange, nods in understanding. Irina continues to express her worries, while Rabbit ponders what they should do. Hiro, with a sudden burst of enthusiasm, exclaims that Irina has good eyes and is a genius, urging them to come up with a good plan. He then addresses a small crowd, declaring that Irina said it was only right for him to take care of his pupil. Irina, now filled with renewed determination, refuses to back down, proclaiming her own greatness. Rabbit, feeling slighted by Barrett's perceived arrogance, agrees to work with Hiro to bring him down, just as Irina requested. Hiro, with a respectful demeanor, asks if Rabbit will grant him the opportunity to protect his smithy alongside him. Having heard the full scope of the challenge, Jinwoo offers a confident smile, declaring his readiness to crush their snot-nosed opponent. Meanwhile, in a bustling workshop, Hiro turns to Rabbit, entrusting him with a crucial task. His gaze unwavering, he emphasizes that Rabbit is the only one he can truly rely on. Elsewhere, Irina's efforts bear fruit, as she acquires new skills, mana forging, which increases her efficiency by 1.5 times, and forging mastery, boosting it by 2 times. Her eyes gleaming with anticipation, she unlocks Craftsman's Eye, the very skill she had been striving for. Back with the strategists, Hiro warns Jinwoo that if Barrett's rumored skill is real, their fight will be against pure probability, a challenge even a master blacksmith might struggle with. But Irina, hammer glowing with newly acquired power, declares with fierce resolve that the game has just begun. Her green eyes burn with an inner light, reflecting her unwavering determination. As the forging competition begins, the crowd's anticipation swells, their voices echoing through the grand arena, calling out Irina's name. She stands ready, her gaze firm, while Jinwoo and Hiro watch from behind, the cheers for her ringing out once more, a testament to the pressure she now faces. Focusing intently on her blade, she notes the immense mana still being expended by her competitors, feeling her own reserves dwindling as she works. With fierce determination, Irina declares that if Luca remains on her side, his support will be the key to her victory. Suddenly, a system notification flashes, announcing the activation of the legendary blacksmith's defense skill, which will boost her concentration, forging efficiency, and success rate by 200% for 1 hour. A vibrant blue aura erupts around her as she strikes the metal, a satisfied smile gracing her lips. Nearby, Hiro, his eyes gleaming with an almost crazed intensity, works the forge, finding the sensation of mana forging deeply satisfying, his focus absolute. Jinwoo, too, is immersed in the process, his senses heightened, feeling the raw iron and fire as if they were extensions of himself, achieving a state of perfect harmony. A similar system message confirms the legendary blacksmith's defense skill has also activated for him, boosting his abilities, and he continues to forge with intense concentration, feeling the material's perfection. As the forging competition continued, the strategist, observing the proceedings, remarked on the unexpected turn of events. He mused aloud that this was truly a competition unlike any other he had witnessed. Meanwhile, the elderly Hiro, standing beside Jinwoo, offered a word of caution, reminding him that they weren't finished yet. The focus then shifted to a simple, yet meticulously crafted basket, with a voice proudly declaring that it was made from a single piece of wood, and that they had spent a great deal of time on it. Jinwoo's eyes widened slightly, a silent exclamation escaping him as he processed the item's quality. The orange-haired mage, Irina, then presented her own creation, a dagger, stating that it was just a dagger, but also just a dagger. She held up the gleaming blade, its intricate details suggesting she had indeed created a great item in less than an hour. Jinwoo's expression remained thoughtful, acknowledging the skill involved, though he internally noted that it looked pretty good, but wasn't all that. Finally, Barrett stepped forward, holding a glowing blue item, and with a flourish, challenged the others to take a look at his gates. The first item, Irina's dagger, is presented, an S-rank weapon boasting an attack power of 1212 and perfect durability. This masterpiece, crafted with delicate skill and superior aesthetics, is said to capture hearts and bewitch enemies, though its durability will quickly deplete with such use, requiring a level of 100+, 200+ agility, and 200+ strength, along with intermediate dagger mastery. Meanwhile, Jinwoo scrapes at the horn-like material he's working with, a thoughtful expression on his face. From the sidelines, Hiro remarks on the unexpected skill of the young woman, surprised she managed to finish her dagger under such pressure, to which the strategist agrees. He acknowledges that despite her youth, she possesses considerable talent, enough to teach him a thing or two. Yet, Hiro can't help but voice his concern, noting that she did nothing to help herself stand out. A jolt of realization passes through him. He worries, understanding that his own item is far from complete. Suddenly, a powerful electric surge fills the air as Barrett dramatically reveals his own dagger, its blue glow shocking the audience, and Jinwoo, to their core. As the shockwave from Barrett's dagger settled, a faint, ethereal glow lingered in the air, a testament to its power. Suddenly, 3 armored figures appeared, their stern gazes fixed on a single point. One of them letting out a surprised, questioning sound. Jinwoo, his expression hardening, glared back at them, a system notification flashing in his mind, detailing the newly forged blessed blacksmith hammer he now possessed, even as he muttered, "You bastard." The lead guard stepped forward, his voice ringing with authority. "We've received information that you are working with the criminal, Hero." He continued, leaving no room for argument. "You are under arrest." A dark, circular opening, like a void, appears in the ground, its depths hinting at something unknown. Nearby, 3 armored guards stand at attention, their stern gazes fixed on something unseen. Suddenly, a guard confronts a man in a light shirt, demanding to know what he thinks he's doing. The guard's voice rises in accusation, calling him a bastard. The man, his expression a mix of surprise and defiance, listens as the guard continues, claiming they've received information about his involvement with a criminal group. The guard's tone hardens, declaring him under arrest. Elsewhere, an elderly man with a white beard watches with wide, concerned eyes, exclaiming in shock at the mention of Huroi. A man with a white beard addresses a somber crowd, his voice filled with regret. He laments their misfortune, acknowledging that they had lost before even taking action, a fact he finds truly unfortunate. Meanwhile, a man in glasses speaks to a knight, asking what they should do now that the great dagger is gone. The bespectacled man, now at a podium, reflects on the 20 years he spent developing new products, only for them to lose everything. The ornate hilt of a great dagger lies on a surface, its blade glinting, as a voice declares, "We lost." Back in a private chamber, Sir Valmont explains to Hero that they almost got caught off guard by the enemy, all because of the great dagger. Valmont continues, expressing his concern that if the enemy announces their possession of the dagger, it will be difficult to recover. Hero, his brow furrowed, questions if they truly have to give up on the battle so easily. To which Valmont simply replies, "Yes, sir. With that ability, he might truly be the best in the continent." The orange-haired mage muses, looking up at Jinwoo, convinced it's the only option left, even if the crown only offers a chance. Considering this, a single word escapes him, "Grid, huh?" Elsewhere, the orange-haired mage looks distraught, her companion Barrett watching her, pleading, "What's this? It's something I could have lost." Yet, a flicker of determination crosses her face as she reiterates, "I'm sure that the crown has something in store for us in the end. I believe it's the only option left. The crown gives you nothing more than a chance." Valmont, ever the strategist, confirms her assessment. That's correct. The quest was complete, and before the orange-haired mage, the legendary artifact known as the Crown of the King now floated, its immense power dormant, awaiting a worthy owner, the victory bringing with it a surge of experience, gold, skill points, and a stat point. But her frustration mounts as she examines the crown's other properties, exclaiming, "Everything else looking at it, this one isn't that great. It's totally random, isn't it? The crown's rolling dice ability dictates that a roll of 1, 2, or 3 initiates an unfavorable effect for allies, while 4, 5, or 6 brings a favorable one. The opposite applies when targeting an enemy." Barrett listens as she speaks of promises, then gently probes, "But you are not unreasonable, aren't you?" Later, alone, the orange-haired mage ponders, "He had the worst personality, but I'm still curious about his identity." She expresses her surprise, wondering if he ever imagined becoming someone who'd even own a backpack. Valmont counters, reminding her that while governments were suits, they never thought she'd have something like a rolling dice ability, prompting her to ask if he knew about this. He continues, stating that everyone, even the governments, had been watching him, implying they should have known something was going on, and she muses on the possibility of him becoming a king soon. Valmont dismisses the idea, believing Jinwoo's empty mana would prevent such a rise, but she insists that even so, he remains a threat to the world. Meanwhile, Jinwoo considers his own power, thinking that with his social network and financial resources, he could create a small or large guild, along with items he himself crafted. Valmont then points out that even the #1 merchant baron had to start with a small business, and she reflects on how Jinwoo was someone who could go beyond that. He declares his intention to ensure Jinwoo doesn't rise too high, to which she retorts that he is merely Jinwoo's rescue dog. Suddenly, a realization dawns on her, her eyes widening in shock, as a system message or internal thought confirms it. It's a quest. As the system presented a job-seeking plan quest, a perilous mission to rescue Rabbit and dismantle the head company, promising 1,000 gold and max affinity upon success, but threatening level loss and permanent destruction for all Winston residents upon failure. He looked down with a determined expression, accepting the challenge. Later, under a clear sky, the grand structure of a building stood silent. Valmont stood outside, addressing a gathering, asking if everyone had received their assignments. Among the assembled, one voice declared that a move was necessary now that everyone had been captured, while another expressed profound gratitude for coming to the aid of those abandoned and facing such immense loss. Yet, confusion rippled through the crowd, with some questioning why he hadn't simply let them die, and others wondering about his true motives for helping them. Suddenly, a collective gasp of alarm swept through the group. A deep, resonant sound echoed through the air. From a nearby doorway, Barrett emerged, observing the scene with a knowing look. He remarked on the unfolding revolt, claiming he had anticipated it, prompting a surprised vomit from the man himself. A tense scene unfolds as an elderly man, his white hair and beard prominent, confronts a group of people, his voice booming with indignation, demanding to know if they truly fear the wrath of the people. He turns to a bald, dark-skinned man in golden armor, addressing him as Sir Philippa, questioning his association with these violent people who are not of the crown, then firmly declares that they must protect them. His anger escalating, he vows to find the guilty man and kill him himself, labeling him a heinous bastard. The crowd echoes his fury, shouting that the man will incite rebellion and must be killed. Suddenly, a different voice, filled with confusion and disorientation, wonders aloud, "Where am I?" A stark visual transition marks the shift in perspective, revealing Rabbit, slumped on the ground in a desolate space, his mind racing as he tries to recall how many days have passed. His face etched with despair, he whispers a desperate plea for someone to save him. But a cold, digital message appears before him, crushing his hope, declaring that no friendship is possible and that help cannot be guaranteed if he is corrupt. In a brightly lit office, a man with short, dark hair and a serious expression leans forward, emphasizing the danger if a certain individual isn't forced to log out. This is Taehyun, the monitoring branch manager, who explains that the individual has been stubbornly holding out on reaping their rewards. His colleague, standing opposite him, questions if they are truly suggesting compromising an S-rank hunter. Taehyun pauses, a butt hanging in the air. Meanwhile, in a different location, a younger man walks away from a door, wondering if they will close the gate now that he has been captured, only to be met with the thought that there's still a possibility. Back in the office, Taehyun insists, acknowledging their desperate situation but warning that inaction will lead to something dire. The younger man, Youngwoo, reacts with a look of concern, thinking that he is not the only one involved. Taehyun's face hardens, declaring that Youngwoo will cause something to happen. A hand rests on a desk, as the decision is made to bet on the 2 remaining hours. A grand, white stone castle stands under a clear blue sky, its imposing structure hinting at the depths beneath, a place known as the Castle Underground Dungeon. Within its confines, a voice echoes from unseen captors, demanding the return of an escaped, unconscious individual, as a muffled grunt suggests someone is being restrained. An armored figure, his face set in a grim expression, threatens immediate execution if the questions aren't answered. The captive, a young man with defiant eyes, kneels before him, daring his interrogator to simply end his life. As the armored man presses for details about his return, an older, bearded man watches with concern, while the captive, now sitting, questions the very premise of the interrogation. The elder, Hiro, explains that the defiant captive is an S-rank hunter who refused to log out, now captured and brought to this place, implying his presence here should not be a surprise. The young hunter, his expression hardening, reveals he was killed by a monster and must hurry too. He thinks, realizing he is the S-rank hunter they intend to bring back, and he must hurry to die again. The armored man, now holding the gagged hunter, addresses him as Leo, calmly stating that his immortal body makes his defiance futile. An unseen voice warns that if he remains imprisoned, danger will find him sooner or later, causing Khan to react with a sharp, surprised gasp. Meanwhile, bound by glowing blue energy, Leo defiantly declares that he cannot be kept in danger if he stays immobile, nor will he be able to log out if he cannot escape. He offers to reveal everything, demanding his gag be removed. Back with Khan, the unseen voice apologizes to him, leaving him with a pained expression. Elsewhere, a system interface displays the statistics for Euphemina, revealing her nickname, a formidable level 808, and her unique class as a duplicator. Her available skills are also listed, including drilling test and stomp. Albert explains that if Jinwoo keeps going like this, he'll be recognized soon enough. He considers the implications, realizing that not only does he have to play the game, but he also needs to learn how to live in this new world. A determined expression crosses his face as he declares he'll take everything this world has to offer. Albert, observing his resolve, simply states that he's sure of it. Outside, the grand stone architecture of a building stands silently. Back inside, Albert advises Jinwoo to get some rest. But a new system window flashes before Jinwoo's eyes, announcing a quest, Apostle of Justice, with objectives to rescue the captive, eliminate the enemies, and secure the area, warning that failure will result in severe penalties. He stares at the glowing system window, a new quest appearing before him, realizing he isn't done yet, that this is the very quest that had him trapped. Reading the details of the Apostle of Justice quest, with its objectives to find and rescue a captive and eliminate unfriendly justice, he can't help but exclaim in disbelief, wondering why he's been arrested and lamenting his trust in the rabbit who led him to this. The severe penalties for failure, arrest, loss of powers, or even disposal, fill him with dread. A deep sigh escapes him, as he questions why such unfortunate events always seem to befall him. 3 hours pass in contemplation. Still staring at the quest window, he acknowledges the system's logic, knowing a quest of this magnitude wouldn't appear without significant reason. Slumped on the ground, a sense of resignation washes over him, as he reflects on his initial mistake of not suspecting something was amiss when the dungeon was cleared so easily. His hand clenches into a tight fist, a surge of frustration making him want to lash out at fate itself. A low groan escapes him, then another. Suddenly, his eyes widen, a gasp of surprise escaping his lips as something unexpected catches his attention. A young woman, Arrow, calls out with concern, her gaze sweeping over the surroundings as she wonders where everyone has gone. From behind the cold bars of a prison cell, a familiar voice reaches him, and Jinwoo's glowing eyes widen slightly in recognition, realizing it sounds like Irina. A frustrated sigh escapes him as he mutters about that fucking kid being here. His situation is dire, with only 3 hours remaining to clear his current quest, and the pressure mounts as he realizes he's running out of time. Outside the cell, Arrow dismisses his earlier distraction, then questions how he ended up imprisoned. His golden eyes narrow slightly, a clear sign of his annoyance. Arrow observes him, a hint of surprise in her expression as she notes his unusual demeanor. Reaching for the cell bars, she offers to free him, but not without a stern warning. With a determined look, her hand resting on the hilt of her sword, Arrow commands him not to dare try to escape. Arrow, still smiling, gestures towards the dagger Jinwoo holds, remarking on its craftsmanship, finding him sweet, even pretty, as she looks at him closely. Still bound and gagged, Jinwoo listens intently as Arrow states her condition. She holds up a glowing orb, explaining that it can store as much magic as possible, a tool that allows magic to be stored and used without prior incantation. Jinwoo ponders her request, wondering why she would ask him to make such a thing, given he's never crafted one before. Arrow, outside his cell, dismisses his unspoken concerns, urging him to agree for now, adding that there's one more thing. She points a finger at him, her expression stern, correcting him that her name is Euphemina, and he should call her by it. Now free of his gag, Jinwoo takes a deep breath, relieved to finally be able to breathe. Euphemina then hands him a dagger, instructing him to take it. Arrow, having just given him a dagger, asks why he decided to rescue her. Then states simply that she is a blacksmith, leaving Jinwoo utterly bewildered. She clarifies, revealing herself to be a duplicator, a hidden class, explaining that she duplicated and used Khan's skill during the quest. Jinwoo, shocked by the mention of a hidden class, which he believed were only available to high rankers, demands to know if she is one of them. Arrow, however, turns the question back on him, wondering what facts she could have told him if she were truly a duplicator. Then, with a knowing smile, she reveals that he, too, is a hidden class. She adds that he can't even use a unique skill, leaving him stunned. She then playfully asks if he likes her, a question that completely throws him off, before her expression turns serious. She warns him that whatever class he has, he will soon be dead if his skills wear off. Her voice drops to a grave tone, emphasizing that if he fails, both of them will end up dead here. The oppressive weight of the dungeon looms, its vastness dwarfing the tiny figures below. As the conversation continues, Arrow explains that even the most powerful skills have their limits, and that his own abilities, like hers, are not immune to wearing off. He looks down at the dagger in his hand, a sudden thought striking him. Perhaps this weapon, the only one he possesses, holds a clue. A system window materializes, detailing the dagger of the Demon King, a weapon with a high attack power, but also a significant penalty. It requires a specific skill to wield effectively, and without it, its power is greatly diminished. Arrow's eyes widen as she sees the dagger, a gasp escaping her lips. He questions the weapon's true nature, wondering why it feels so potent despite the listed drawbacks. Another system message appears, confirming the penalty, a 20% decrease in attack power and a 10% decrease in effect. He realizes the dagger's true power is being held back. She can hardly believe it, acknowledging that the penalty is indeed severe, and that it must have been a significant drawback for the original owner. Her gaze fixed on the blade, she asks him, her voice filled with surprise, if he is an assassin. He dismisses the idea, stating that he doesn't possess such a skill, and asks her what she means by her question. Still processing the dagger's information, Jinwoo wonders if he's truly incapable of wielding it to its fullest, before quickly dismissing the thought, deciding that if that's the only issue, then it's fine. Suddenly, a jolt of purple energy erupts around him, causing him to recoil with a startled cry. He curses under his breath, frustrated that no one had warned him about such a potent side effect. Shaking off the surprise, he focuses his will, unleashing a powerful wind blast that swirls with vibrant blue energy. The torrent of wind expands rapidly, and a grin spreads across his face as he realizes the sheer power of his new ability, calling out to Euphemina, who stands nearby, asking if she's just going to stand there. The orange-haired mage responds with a dry wit, stating that rescuing him is beyond her job description, and her services aren't free. Jinwoo looks exasperated, wondering why she's trying to play hard to get amidst the armored figures they face. A system notification flashes, reminding him of the dwindling time left to clear the quest, and he groans in frustration. Still amidst the remnants of his recent struggle, he acknowledges the overwhelming task before him, knowing he cannot handle everything alone. Turning to Euphemina, he requests her aid in rescuing Hiro, only for her to question his plea. She misinterprets his words, believing he refers to the Elder Khan, whom she asserts has already been saved. A brief moment of relief washes over him, quickly replaced by exasperation as he clarifies the identity of the person he seeks, a man named Hiro. Euphemina stares back, admitting her unfamiliarity with the name, while Jinwoo explains their brief encounter. Her gaze shifts, a thoughtful, almost mercenary expression crossing her face as she considers the request, mentioning the concept of overtime. His patience wears thin, a visible surge of irritation radiating from him as he reminds her of his own prior frustrations, urging her to simply lend her considerable power. With a subtle, glowing gesture, she begins to speak. Her eyes now alight with a faint green energy, she finishes her thought, sternly reminding him of proper address. Her hands begin to glow with an intense blue energy, swirling and coalescing as she prepares to unleash her power. With a sudden surge, a massive, glowing fist of pure magical force erupts from her, accompanied by a declaration, "Glove of Destruction." The sheer impact of the attack sends him reeling, a gasp escaping his lips as he struggles against the overwhelming pressure. He is pushed back, the ground beneath his feet tearing away from the force. The magical torrent continues to buffet him, forcing him to brace himself against its raw power. Just as quickly as it began, the attack dissipates, leaving behind a shower of shimmering blue shards that fade into the air. He watches the remnants of her magic vanish, a thought crystallizing in his mind. It's obvious. They're trying to buy us off with money. The display of power leaves him stunned, realizing the true extent of her abilities. To think her power was this high without any of her incarnations, she's on the same level as me, he muses, then adds, "I'll help you save that man, but you." Euphemina watches him intently, her green eyes glowing with an inner light, awaiting his response. A young man, Arrow, looks down with a deeply troubled expression, his voice barely a whisper as he pleads for forgiveness for what he calls his grave sin. His personal statistics flash into view, revealing his nickname Arrow, a staggering level of over 4.5 million, and the class Humans Descended, along with the title, The One Who Became Legend. His health and mana pools are immense, and his core stats like strength, intelligence, perception, vitality, and agility are all in the high 90s. Further details confirm his status as a legendary blacksmith's disciple, having created 21 items, and a total dagger is highlighted as a rare item with full durability. Descending into the dungeon's depths, Jinwoo and the orange-haired mage continue their search, the stone steps winding endlessly below them. With only an hour remaining to complete the quest, he questions if there could be any other places Hungo might be hiding upstairs, but the mage confirms the 4th floor is their target. Meanwhile, in another part of the dungeon, Arrow shares a rumor about Hungo heading to the basement, while Albert corroborates with trusted intel, confirming the target's destination as the 4th floor. The cavernous staircase stretches into the gloom, prompting a frustrated cry from the mage, wondering aloud where the stairs to the 4th floor could possibly be. The rough-hewn steps continue their descent, until Jinwoo, with a decisive gesture, points the way forward, indicating they've found their path. He cries out, his eyes wide with alarm, as the orange-haired mage, captivated by a beautiful, glowing blue flower, laments its seemingly neglected state. But his voice cuts through her thoughts, a sharp command to stop, to not touch the alluring bloom. A chilling realization dawns upon them. The entire dungeon floor is a labyrinth of hidden traps. He acknowledges the clear and present danger, just as a dark, rectangular object suddenly flies towards him with a sharp, metallic clang. He deflects the projectile, commenting on the unexpected speed of the trap, before deciding that they should be fine, as the traps haven't yet detected their presence, urging them to delve deeper. Yet, his confidence is immediately shattered as an invisible force slams into him, sending him recoiling backward amidst a burst of blue energy. He looks flustered as the orange-haired mage apologizes, her words cut short. Suddenly, the ground beneath him gives way with a loud crack, sending him plummeting into a newly formed pit, much to the orange-haired mage's surprise, who questions his reaction, while he demands to know what she's doing. She explains that this is the fastest way to descend to the next floor, a technique she learned from Albert, insisting it's her method. They arrive in a vast, dark chamber, where the orange-haired mage calls out, "Everyone over here." But before he can react, the ground beneath Jinwoo gives way once more, sending him tumbling down another level. As the orange-haired mage calls out that she's counting on him, prompting him to wonder why he's even following her when he could use his own abilities, before she quickly agrees they should just find Albert. They find themselves in a new area, where the orange-haired mage points out a glowing symbol on a wall. A strange marking that can only be perceived by those with a certain level of mana, revealing a truly peculiar aspect of this world. Still exasperated by his companion's methods, Jinwoo questions her decision to collapse the floor, wondering about the potential damage and noise, and what monsters might lie below. But she confidently assures him of her magical prowess, proclaiming her confidence in her spellcasting, even against a 3-man's guard. A sigh of relief escapes her lips as the last of the debris settles, the mage seemingly unconcerned by his worries. She seems certain that this was the final obstacle, believing there couldn't be anything else to hinder their descent. though she admits her remaining spells are limited, barely enough to bypass the guard she anticipates ahead. As they approach the next level, a group of armored figures comes into view, confirming her prediction. He turns to her, a hint of disbelief in his voice, asking if she truly has no other tricks up her sleeve. With a sudden, powerful declaration, she unleashes a blinding flash of light towards the approaching guards. The unexpected burst leaves him to wonder if she had been holding back a spell specifically to disorient their foes. The orange-haired mage strains, a yellow aura flaring around her as she struggles to maintain her spell, muttering that she will keep her word, for now. Her face etched with exhaustion, she realizes she has no spells left. With a desperate surge of energy, pink and purple particles swirling around her hand, she knows she can't hold them off forever, urging unseen allies to hurry. Her strength failing, a silent plea escapes her lips for someone to save her, admitting she's at her limit. Her eyes closing in defeat, the last vestiges of her magic fade, unable to hold on any longer. Elsewhere in the dungeon, a guttural scream tears through the air, and Jinwoo cries out in anguish. His head snapping up, he recognizes the voice instantly. It's Eros. Racing through the cavern, a look of disbelief on his face, he can't fathom how this dungeon suddenly appeared. Spotting Ero in the distance, clad in armor, Jinwoo's shock turns to fury, vowing to crush the bastard responsible. His attack lands with brutal force, shattering Ero's shield. He glares, his voice laced with accusation. If you're in league with Hero, then your aim would obviously bring you here. Damn it, he mutters. I thought he would be at least somewhat reasonable. I guess I was wrong. His gaze hardens. You were here all this time. Did you finally bring him to me? With a surge of blue energy, Jinwoo lunges, his blade arcing through the air. I'll rip up his mouth so he can be the one to tell me, he snarls, pressing his assault. Ero barely manages to block, his eyes widening in realization. He has no intent to talk. A system window flashes before him, confirming a significant boost to his attack power, speed, agility, and movement rate. Blue energy flares around the young man as he steels his resolve. It looks like I have no choice but to fight. He meets Jinwoo's next strike head-on, the impact echoing through the dungeon. He braces against the impact, a surprise thought flashing through his mind as the attack is blocked. Blue energy trails Jinwoo's next strike, but Ero meets it with another swift defense. A grunt of effort escapes him, his expression hardening with resolve. Jinwoo presses his assault, his internal monologue betraying his shock. This opponent is increasing his attack speed and power, making it a challenge even for a seasoned hunter like himself. He can't believe his attack was blocked, muttering about a blackened look-alike of a knight. Ero's patience snaps, a fiery aura flaring around him as he declares he will no longer be offended. His hand glows with intense orange energy as he prepares to unleash his fire embodies ultimate skill, commanding his foe to die. A devastating explosion of fire erupts, engulfing Jinwoo. The system registers a massive amount of damage, and his low health triggers the emergency evasion ability, granting him 5 seconds of immunity. Reeling from the explosive power of Ero's ultimate skill, he struggles to comprehend the sheer force, his mind screaming for a healing potion to mend the damage. But then, a sudden blue glow envelopes him, causing Ero to stare in confusion, wondering why his devastating attack had abruptly ceased. Bruised but now invulnerable, Jinwoo's eyes blaze with a furious yellow light, a silent promise of retaliation forming on his lips. He considers his options, realizing that using his own magic in such an enclosed space would be suicidal after Ero's dust explosion, a dangerous thought that quickly solidifies his next move. Ero, still reeling from the unexpected turn of events, can only stare in disbelief, utterly bewildered by what Jinwoo had just done. A smirk plays on Jinwoo's lips, his glowing eyes confirming the narration. Ero had been caught squarely in the face. A choked cry of pain escapes Ero's lips, blood trickling from his mouth, as he collapses from the impact. As Ero lies defeated, a series of system messages flash before Jinwoo's eyes, each one announcing a new level gained. With a triumphant fist pump, he lets out a resounding cheer. A loud creaking sound echoes as a heavy door slowly opens, revealing a blinding light. A hand reaches out, tentatively touching a sun-drenched surface. Ero shields his eyes from the sudden, intense glow, his expression a mix of confusion and disorientation. He looks up at Jinwoo, who stands tall and composed before him. A slight smile plays on Jinwoo's lips as he remarks, "You look like you're about to fall over, Kuro." Ero stammers, trying to form a coherent response, eventually managing a hesitant, thanks, as a system notification confirms the quest's completion. His eyes widen in shock as another message appears, declaring, "You're my savior," and detailing new skills granted to the Apostle of Justice. Jinwoo, equally perplexed, can only utter a confused, as his own system confirms the quest's completion. His surprise deepens, as he too receives the title Apostle of Justice, and the same new skills, now partnered with the very being he just defeated. He looks down at the figure before him, who, despite the hazy memories of their past encounter, clearly remembers his assistance in completing the quest. With a solemn bow, the figure pledges complete and unwavering loyalty. He then introduces himself, declaring, "I am Dam Arianbader, descendant of the blue wolf. Dam continues. In order to repay your kindness, I vow to follow you until I die. Jinwoo, however, can only stare in bewilderment, wondering what could possibly be wrong with him. A thought crosses his mind that Dam must have gone completely mad, just as a system notification confirms the quest's completion, granting him the title Apostle of Justice and new skills. A duplicator possesses the unique ability to copy any skill and talent, regardless of their original class, allowing them to even duplicate the most basic classes, though such abilities are often regarded as useless, proving either a great help or a great hindrance depending on the specific skill. This disparity means some duplicators can clear entire dungeons alone, while others struggle to defeat a single monster, primarily because a duplicator can only copy up to 3 skills and often struggles to utilize them effectively. Despite these limitations, a duplicator's copied skills are inherently powerful. But the real question becomes how one utilizes them, especially in the market. Those who are relegated to the black classes are individuals who cannot even properly use their copied skills, leaving one to wonder about the nature of their abilities, and acknowledging that it's thanks to these very black classes that some are able to survive, as their skills often appear unusable to others. The orange-haired mage looks down, a wave of frustration washing over her as she realizes the gravity of her situation, muttering that this is the problem with her current state. She then turns to Jinwoo, asking if he can truly trust her to handle the situation, while Arrow, standing beside him, questions what they should do. The mage continues, her voice laced with self-doubt, wondering if someone like her, a black-class duplicator, should even be allowed to participate. Her expression hardens, a clear sign of distress, as she laments that it seems she can't buy any more time, letting out a sharp curse. Looking at her hands, she acknowledges that the skills she possesses are all fake, and questions if it's acceptable for someone like her to stand up and fight. With a sudden shift in demeanor, she points towards Jinwoo and Arrow, her voice rising as she commands them to get him. Her gaze remains fixed on them, a sense of regret in her eyes, as she admits she should have trusted her own judgment and minded her own business. A silent exclamation escapes her, her thoughts unvoiced but clearly troubled. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and Arrow stand together, their expressions resolute as they prepare for the moments ahead. She wonders if she can truly use this skill, a soft yellow glow emanating from her as she concentrates. Meanwhile, Jinwoo unleashes a powerful strike, a burst of blue energy trailing behind his swift movement. Back with the mage, a pained sound escapes her lips, her attempt seemingly failing. He looks down at her, defeated on the ground, and remarks, "Forget it. We ran out of energy for nothing." Arrow, standing beside him, suggests, "Let's return those 500 gold coins to her." Still on the ground, she looks up and insists, "So don't feel bad." A fierce determination ignites in her eyes as she declares, "This isn't the end. I still have a 50% chance." Standing once more, a yellow aura flaring around her, she braces herself, knowing this next attempt might be her last. The system confirms her fears. Skill duplication has been activated. Duplication target, skill, mana shield. Duplication success rate, 50%. Duplication failed. Skill duplication has been activated. Duplication target, skill, mana shield. Duplication success rate, 50%. Duplication failed. She laments internally. How could I have failed so many times on one person? I have a bunch of failures. Still reeling from her repeated failures, she kneels in despair, a silent cry escaping her lips as armored figures loom over her, while Jinwoo observes the scene from a short distance. Elsewhere, a man with brown hair stands beside Jinwoo, who lets out a soft exclamation, his gaze fixed on something unseen. Her frustration boils over, the orange-haired maid shouting, "What then, you idiot?" An older, bearded man remarks to a younger companion. He seemed unusually angry. The younger man replies, "If that guy is here then, I don't feel so bad." Meanwhile, Jinwoo's resolve hardens, his expression grim as he vows, "No matter who it is, I won't let them get what they want. If I have to, I'll fight to the very bitter end." A powerful aura of purple energy begins to emanate from him, as he defiantly declares, "I refuse." An unseen force challenges him, asking, "Come, do you wish to challenge my sovereignty?" The orange-haired mage, surrounded by her own glowing particles, looks up with renewed determination, thinking, "I can't go back from here. That means I'll have to give up on my own goals. I think that it's time for me to take it to the next level." The older man from before comments, "That guy was, if he died, he's only got himself to blame," while his younger companion questions, "Won't we have to help him?" Jinwoo stands firm, his body still radiating purple energy, as a voice echoes, "We may be abandoning his request, but we can't abandon our own goals. That guy's will was strong, but he wasn't able to help." A young knight, clad in heavy armor, confronts Arrow, questioning his capabilities, wondering aloud how he could possibly threaten them. The knight continues, expressing surprise at the young man's rapid growth, having initially dismissed him as just a kid. Arrow, however, simply smiles, acknowledging the knight's observation, and thinking to himself that he must maintain his confident facade. With a challenging grin, he dares them to try him, promising to deal with all of them at once. Meanwhile, Euphemina, her orange hair framing a determined expression, declares her own unwavering resolve. Back with Arrow, a knight angrily accuses him of abandoning their request, calling him an idiot. Elsewhere, an older man laments their predicament, having been thrown back to the starting point and losing all contact. A group of armored knights stands in formation, their expressions a mix of disdain and impatience, as a dark-haired female knight speaks with a sneer, dismissing a humble human who dares to challenge them. Meanwhile, in a different setting, Euphemia's eyes widen slightly as she processes Jinwoo's words, a playful smirk gracing her lips as she teases him about his perceived modesty. She shakes her head, a hint of exasperation in her voice, insisting that he's merely lying and should admit his own genius. Jinwoo, however, remains resolute, his gaze fixed on a small black cat-like creature beside him, confessing that he simply cannot win against the individual they are discussing. He reiterates his point, a sense of resignation in his tone, stating that he has already proven superior, urging the creature to simply observe the unfolding events. Suddenly, a sharp, impactful sound echoes, causing Jinwoo and the creature to flinch, their expressions shifting to surprise and annoyance at the unexpected disturbance. Back with the knights, the dark-haired female warrior lunges forward with furious intent, her attack fueled by rage as she vows to kill Arrow for his perceived arrogance. The blow connects with brutal force, sending Arrow recoiling backward, a pained grunt escaping his lips. His eyes widen in shock and disbelief, realizing the sheer power behind the strike was far more than he anticipated. The female knight's attack lands with a blinding flash of energy, striking Arrow with immense force. He recoils violently from the impact, his eyes wide with shock as Jinwoo and the orange-haired mage watch in alarm. Another powerful blow from her sword connects, sending a jarring shockwave through the air. Arrow collapses to the ground, defeated, leaving Jinwoo and the mage stunned by the swiftness of the assault. But as he lies there, a golden glow erupts around him, and he suddenly manifests a full set of gleaming armor, a new skill gained from his recent ordeal. Arrow stares at his armored hand, bewildered, unable to comprehend how he could use such a skill when he couldn't even access his abilities moments before. The female knight looks on, her expression a mix of disbelief and confusion, wondering how someone of his type could possibly wield such power. With a newfound resolve, Arrow clenches his fist, determined to demonstrate the true extent of his emerging abilities. As the chaos of the battlefield swirled around them, the orange-haired mage looked back, a question forming on her lips. He urged them forward, knowing they had to find a way out, even if it meant splitting up. He called out, hoping to regroup later, as they pressed on through the throng. But their path was abruptly cut off by two armored figures, their forms crackling with a menacing purple energy. "You bastards! What makes you think we'll let you go so easily?" one of them roared. The other knight sneered, "What do you think you're doing? I'm the one who didn't plan on letting you leave." His voice dripped with contempt. "You weaklings! You think you're strong enough to be running around, but you're nothing but trash." The second knight scoffed, "You're just trying to escape, aren't you? How rude." Suddenly, Arrow stepped forward, his body now enveloped in a brilliant golden aura, glowing particles swirling around him. "And, my new skill," he declared, his voice firm. His eyes burned with a fierce resolve as he faced the knights. "Come and get it." As the enemy knights close in, Arrow unleashes a blinding surge of purple energy, his new golden armor glowing with immense power, shouting a declaration of justice. The system confirms his unbreakable skill is active, and the vibrant aura intensifies around him. With a deafening roar, the purple energy explodes outward, engulfing everything in its path. The two enemy knights are instantly overwhelmed, their forms thrown back as mere silhouettes against the raw force of the attack. Watching the devastating display, Jinwoo allows a small, knowing smile to cross his face. Nearby, the orange-haired mage gasps in realization, understanding that the knights had merely been feigning weakness. She continues her analysis, the mana flowing from Arrow's body confirming her suspicion that he is indeed a high ranker. Arrow, now calm amidst the aftermath, reflects on his actions, a sense of profound relief washing over him as he feels truly free. As the dust settles, Jinwoo turns to him, offering a simple, heartfelt wish of good luck. Following his powerful display, a system window reveals Arrow's current statistics, identifying him by his nickname, Kuro, at level 127 with the class of Orator. His skills include Strong Will, which resists any attack for 10 seconds, and Unbreakable Justice, a potent ability dealing 300% physical attack damage in a wide range. A heavy door swings inward with a deep thud, revealing a vast, dimly lit chamber. As Arrow steps through the threshold, his gaze sweeps across the empty space, a slight sound of surprise escaping him. He turns back, a question in his eyes, as the orange-haired mage and another man follow him into the room. The orange-haired mage explains that they were instructed to wait there until the master arrived. Arrow, still confused, asks why they too have come to this place. The orange-haired mage looks down, then back up, admitting she merely followed instructions. The other man confirms her statement, adding that he also simply followed the given orders. Arrow stands resolute, as a title appears, identifying him as Dam Arianbator, also known as Kuro, the Lord of the Tower. The orange-haired mage, still reeling from the revelation, questions him, "Are you truly the master we've been waiting for, or just another disciple? He confirms his identity, stating, I am the master, which prompts her to ask if he was truly the one who summoned them. She stands, her back to him, as if contemplating his words. With a resolute expression, Arrow reiterates his claim, I am the master, and I summoned you, leading her to inquire about his intentions. Without a word, he begins to gather immense blue energy around himself, concentric rings of power expanding rapidly. The energy coalescing into a massive, swirling vortex of blue light as he declares his intention to show them his power. A blinding streak of blue energy erupts from him, tearing through the air with incredible speed, slamming into an unseen target with a deafening impact, and culminating in a colossal explosion of blue energy that rips through the space, leaving a trail of shattered remnants in its wake. Arrow unleashes a torrent of blue energy, his body hunched as raw power erupts from him, culminating in a blinding explosion that rips through the landscape. The orange-haired mage stares in disbelief, unable to comprehend the sheer force, while Jinwoo, observing from a distance, remarks that he can barely perceive the source of such immense power. She acknowledges his true strength, admitting her earlier doubts, as Arrow simply states that he has learned a great deal. With a final word, the orange-haired mage suggests he can now manage on his own, and he turns, walking away from the devastation. Later, she confirms that their quest is finally complete, earning a simple, approving good job from Jinwoo. Elsewhere, a group of stern-faced men, led by a distinguished figure in glasses, stands in what appears to be a formal chamber. Jinwoo listens intently as the old man before him speaks, a hint of exasperation in his voice. Oh, come on. You're a rabbit. You're too easy to figure out. He wonders if the old man truly knows his identity, but the man continues, I totally forgot about the hero company. We're not doing that now. Jinwoo then finds himself facing a small group of individuals, one of whom confirms, that's correct. The old man, joined by a woman in a cat ear hoodie, explains, I forgot that she was hired by the hero company. The hooded woman adds, wait, then why did she say it was a trap? Jinwoo's attention shifts to a glowing blue system window, his expression one of surprise as he reads the updates to his status, including new titles like Failed Descendant Who Became Legend and Master of All, along with significant boosts to dexterity, stamina, strength, and agility, and 4 new titles. He mutters to himself, what the heck is going on? The hooded woman, still with the group, voices her concern. There are about 100 of them. It's a belief that none of them are doing any harm, anyway. Jinwoo, now alone, reviews his detailed stats, noting his current strength, stamina, agility, and intelligence, along with his remaining 300 stat points. He decides, I should put all my points into stamina and defense, as he invests 90 points into stamina and 10 points into strength, watching his stats update on the glowing interface. He still doesn't believe he'll ever be strong enough, but acknowledges that this path is his only way forward. After allocating his stat points, he feels overwhelmingly strong, yet the current situation reminds him of his lack of experience. A normal level 45 player would have fewer than 500 total stat points, but he now possesses more than 1,300. Equipped with the new dagger, he feels stronger than ever before. He recalls the orange-haired mage, acknowledging that while she might be strong, she still lacks experience. The dagger he holds is a testament to his growing power, a tool he's quite proud of. Turning to the old man, he declares his resolve, insisting he will do what he can, despite the man's apparent surprise. The hooded woman, along with the rest of the group, watches as the old man questions Jinwoo's decision, asking why he's talking to the devil woman and urging him to save them first. The old man, with a worried expression, continues to press him, wondering if he's even listening to their pleas. The old man with the beard bristles, demanding to know why his duty at the district gate should be abandoned, but the man with glasses calmly clarifies that he's not asking him to abandon his duty, but to protect the guild. Convinced, the old man declares his intention to leave, but Jinwoo interjects with a firm, no, causing the man with glasses to also halt, calling out, wait. The man with glasses continues his pitch, explaining that with Jinwoo's skills, he could easily handle the remaining products, yet running a party alone has its limits. He assures Jinwoo that if they join forces, their combined efforts would be far more successful than any small to medium-sized runner could achieve. With a confident smile, the man with glasses guarantees their success, while the old man with the beard, already on his way to rescue the devil woman, questions Jinwoo's earlier refusal, wondering why they couldn't have worked together. The old man, now resolute, vows to restore their reputation by taking down the tyrant. The man with glasses suggests they leave to finish things quickly, and the old man readily agrees. As the old man announces their next target, the Devil's Eye, and prepares to depart, the man with glasses confirms he will wait for them at the guild. But just as they turn to leave, Jinwoo lets out a small grunt, stopping them with a single word, wait, before pointedly asking if they've forgotten something crucial. The hooded woman, her expression a mix of frustration and disbelief, reminds him of his promise. He simply shrugs, explaining that he needs to prepare and gather materials, but she cuts him off, asking if he thinks it will be that easy. The old man with the beard looks on, confused, as the hooded woman continues to press Jinwoo, insisting that he can't just abandon them. A playful smirk crosses her face as she adds, it was fun playing with you, see ya. Jinwoo, facing the entire group, lets out a sigh of relief, muttering, "Phew. Is that the end?" The old man, still bewildered, questions his words, asking if he's truly a fool. Ignoring the comment, Jinwoo gazes at a glowing screen before him, a triumphant grin spreading across his face as he declares, "I'll be rich soon." The hooded woman, now standing beside him, asks what just happened, her voice laced with confusion. She then turns to the side, a skeptical look on her face, wondering aloud if he's just pretending. The man with glasses begins, explaining that Pagma was once a blacksmith who managed to forge a legendary item, a feat that should have been impossible. He continues, his voice thoughtful, detailing how Pagma's descendant inherited his skills and strengths. The old man listens intently, as the man with glasses elaborates on the descendant's unique abilities, which allowed him to create items that defied conventional understanding. He further explains that the descendant's creations were so powerful they could even turn a piece of trash into a legendary artifact, and that the descendant's investment did not come free. The old man's expression remains serious as the man with glasses concludes that the descendant's investment did not come free. This led to the formation of the Midas Company, a venture founded by Pagma's descendant, which quickly rose to prominence, becoming a symbol of wealth and power. However, the company's success was short-lived, as its founder was executed for committing heinous crimes, leading to its eventual downfall. The man with glasses continues, explaining that many expected the company's assets to be seized by the state, but the government had yet to lay claim to them. He finishes, stating that Pagma's descendant was sentenced to death for treason, and the fate of his assets remains uncertain. Arrow recounts a tale, explaining how peace returned to Winter Village, but only because all those who could confirm the affected villagers' plight were dead, and ultimately, the king bore the responsibility. He continues, asserting that the king they all believed in was, in fact, a tyrant, a rather compelling story, he muses, before adding a final piece of information. The old man finds this very interesting, thanking him for the tale, then observes that Arrow is an unfamiliar face, wondering if the young king is the true hero of this narrative. Arrow warns that he will be disappointed from now on, yet still looks forward to hearing more of the old man's stories. The old man and Arrow exchange a final glance, as the narrative shifts to focus on the story of the Midas companies, pinned by Dong, the daughter of God. The old man concludes, musing that perhaps her folly wasn't entirely her own responsibility. A bald man explains that to satisfy the minimum class requirements, the system announces a chosen class, which then appears. An orange-haired woman expresses her hope that whatever class it is, it must be a good one. She then reveals that it's the same class possessed by the S-class hunter, Sung Jinwoo. The bald man interjects, suggesting there's still a possibility. He reminds them that obtaining a rating class is already challenging, and they can only select from classes they've previously encountered. The orange-haired woman then asks if he has received a class. The city skyline stretches into the distance. He declares his intention to no longer be a mere porter. The bald listener reacts with shock, exclaiming about S-class hunter Sung Jinwoo, while the orange-haired mage wonders if he's the one who received the rating class, which he confirms. The bald listener vehemently warns him against risking his life for an unknown class, convinced he'll regret it, but the orange-haired mage quietly defends him, acknowledging his status. Undeterred, he proclaims his ambition to become a blacksmith, vowing to create the best weapons and armor if the desired class isn't available, promising to make everything he can. A determined growl escapes him, his resolve hardening as he reiterates his commitment to crafting. The bald listener, exasperated, accuses him of simply wanting to emulate Sung Jinwoo, while the orange-haired mage sighs, wishing he could just get a rating class to avoid this path. He is seen diligently working at an anvil, hammering away, reaffirming his identity as a legendary blacksmith who will forge the finest equipment. The bald listener, still frustrated, shouts for him to stop misleading others, urging him instead to find rare materials for his chosen class. A sigh of dejection escapes him, realizing no one is truly listening to his aspirations, finding the situation quite disheartening. The city sprawls under a soft, twilight sky, its towering buildings reaching towards the fading light. He walks through the urban landscape, his thoughts consumed by a singular goal, to obtain a rating class and make those who doubted him regret their judgment. Meanwhile, in a more formal setting, an older man with a beard suggests accepting a proposal, while the man beside him notes that the contract conditions are an added bonus. Still walking, Jinwoo considers the next hurdle, knowing he needs to persuade his parents about his chosen path. He understands that words alone won't be enough. He'll need to show them tangible results. Another building stands tall, a silent witness to the unfolding events. Later, a young man named Arrow approaches him, expressing his own thoughts, and asks if Jinwoo has said his goodbyes. Jinwoo responds, his voice firm, declaring that he will be the one taking care of Arrow now, as the young man holds out a letter. Taking the letter, Jinwoo reads its contents, which state that his business partner will handle Arrow's care. A voice explains that while some may choose to walk a path of strength, others might find their own unique power. The man with glasses adds that he will be watching the protagonist's journey from a distance, anticipating his success. Later, the old man with the beard asks Jinwoo if he's truly decided to pursue this path, to which he confirms his resolve, stating that he's already made up his mind. The old man then warns him that this decision will be difficult, but Jinwoo, with a look of determination, declares that he's ready for any challenge. The old man, his expression softening, acknowledges his spirit, reminding him that he's always been a stubborn one, and that he will always support him, no matter what. Jinwoo looks surprised by the unexpected warmth, as the old man continues, asking him to promise to visit often. He readily agrees, promising to return once he's become a legendary blacksmith, and then asks if the old man will be all right on his own. The old man reassures him, saying he'll be fine, and Jinwoo, with a grateful smile, thanks him for everything. As he prepares to leave, the old man hands him a letter, telling him it's from a business partner, and that he should read it carefully. Jinwoo opens the letter, his eyes widening in shock as he reads its contents, uttering a surprised exclamation. He stares at the letter in his hand, a profound surprise washing over his face, as the old man beside him remarks on the sheer scale of the business he's involved with. Meanwhile, in a bustling city, a grand building stands prominently, its sign declaring it an auction house. Inside, a mage named Irina examines a document with a furrowed brow, muttering about the unbelievable nature of its contents. Her eyes scan the text, a mix of disbelief and intrigue on her features, as she questions if the information could truly be real. The document speaks of a legendary blacksmith and a blacksmith auction scheduled for the end of the month, a development that seems to defy all known logic. Irina shares the news with Arrow and the hooded woman, who both listen intently as she expresses her astonishment at the auction's timing and the sheer audacity of its premise. A glowing orb appears in her hand, its light reflecting her continued disbelief. She gazes at a holographic display, the details of the auction shimmering before her, still struggling to comprehend how such an event could be possible. Elsewhere, a group of influential figures, including the man with glasses and the woman with a ponytail, discuss the same auction, acknowledging its unbelievable nature while confirming its legitimacy, and wondering about the true identity of the legendary blacksmith. She stares at the holographic screen, her voice filled with disbelief, questioning what could have possibly happened to the man who has yet to reveal his identity, the one dubbed the blacksmith. As the words, "unbelievable," flash across the display, detailing how someone could transform into a legendary blacksmith, her concern deepens. Her eyes widen further, the sheer audacity of releasing such an item making her exclaim, "That's crazy." Pondering the situation, she wonders why anyone would go so far to hide their identity, even after releasing such a powerful item, recalling how she was last brought up to speed while traveling on the internet. The holographic screen then poses a question about a blacksmith auction, making her realize that whatever this is, it's not just any blacksmith. Meanwhile, in a different location, the bald official reveals that one of the participants created an epic sword in just 3 hours. Back with Irina, a glowing orb now held in her hand, she gasps, "It's him." While Arrow, equally stunned, echoes the impossibility of an epic item crafted in such a short time. The bald official, still serious, declares it impossible, confirming the existence of a legendary blacksmith, as the holographic screen displays information about participating in the blacksmith auction. A determined smirk plays on Irina's lips as she utters, "The last legendary." As a powerful presence makes itself known, a monstrous roar echoes through the dark, cavernous space, and Jinwoo plunges into the fray, his form a blur of motion against the horde of grotesque creatures. He carves a path through the smaller entities with brutal efficiency, each strike leaving a crimson trail as the system registers his overwhelming power, noting his SD. Rat's skill has reached its maximum level. Red energy explodes from his every movement, a whirlwind of destruction tearing through the monstrous ranks. Wielding a massive, glowing red axe, his attack power and battle speed are so immense they defy conventional ranking, a true epic class weapon in the hands of a rising legend. With a devastating downward swing, he unleashes the full force of his Rising Sun skill, a technique that has already secured him the top spot in total rankings. His fist clenches, radiating raw power, a testament to how far he has come. He had shot up in rank without a mentor, and despite his exceptional growth, he continues to climb higher, having already surpassed the previous top ranker in the last month. He wants to keep growing, to handle everything on his own without relying on anyone. And he will not stop until he reaches a point where he won't be afraid of anything, ready to face even the strongest and most terrifying enemies head-on. His relentless pursuit of power has yielded immense results, with skills like SD, Rats, Rising Sun, and Blackwing Gauntlet, all reaching their maximum levels, boosting his attack speed, critical hit rate, and defense. Yet, even with such growth, he muses on the need for better equipment, questioning the true nature of these monsters, even the bosses. He dismisses them as utterly useless, standing amidst the defeated horde, a blue aura faintly shimmering around him. Far from the battlefield, a grand, ornate structure stands, its presence marking an expanding territory. In a bustling town nearby, Euphemina appears troubled, remarking that her current situation has become quite a problem. She continues her search, muttering that her target isn't here either, and she simply doesn't want to find the one he is with. Euphemina knew this day would bring trouble, but she hadn't anticipated its severity. Having searched for quite some time now, she had cleared the quest without issue, but what was the point if she couldn't even reach her target? A faint blue glow emanates from the ground. And she looks up, a knowing expression on her face, as if she'd been expecting this. And I've been waiting for you, she murmurs. Her gaze then shifts to a massive, dark pillar, a sense of unease washing over her. What the hell is that? She wonders aloud. She had felt a bad omen about this place, a special premonition she couldn't ignore. She'd kept her name hidden, believing there would be no danger, but to find a black crystal here. This is just, I wonder who it is, she says, her voice firming. I said to come out. From the shadows, a cloaked figure emerges, its presence radiating an ominous aura, drawing a sharp gasp from Euphemina. The figure's eyes glow with an intense, electric blue light, as Euphemina realizes the implications. A common black crystal has been created by him, she thinks, a single word escaping her lips. Impossible. The mysterious cloaked figure, known for his taciturn nature, proves difficult to extract information from, leaving his subordinates frustrated. He presses his informants, the bald listener and the man with glasses, about the guild's involvement and the useless information they've gathered on the hunter named Paul. A sharp realization dawns on him, as he curses under his breath, understanding that Paul belongs to a different guild than he initially believed. He then inquires about the number of witnesses who saw Paul enter the dungeon, while in a separate location, Euphemina sighs, confirming the count ranges from 10 to 20 people. Meanwhile, a determined red-haired woman declares she will meet Paul in person to confirm his exact location. The cloaked figure, still pondering his next move, wonders if his lack of success stems from not having met Paul face-to-face, questioning how he might achieve such a meeting. Suddenly, a brilliant blue aura flares around the cloaked figure, glowing particles swirling as he prepares for action. His eyes ignite with the same intense blue light, and he moves with blurring speed. In another place, Euphemina too surges with power, a vibrant orange energy radiating from her as she dashes forward. He stares down at the shattered earth, a grim realization dawning on him. The barrier, his powerful defense, had been utterly useless against whatever force had been at play. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a young woman with vibrant orange hair concentrates, a sphere of crackling blue energy forming in her hand, her thoughts echoing the same urgent question. Is he okay? As her power surges, rings of golden lightning erupt around her, a vibrant aura of pink and purple energy enveloping her form. Back in the dark cavern, the cloaked figure's eyes glow with a fierce red light, a surge of blue lightning crackling around him as he considers the implications of the recent events. He projects a holographic map, pinpointing a location, his mind racing with calculations. The information he'd gathered, the data on the hunter known as Paul, all pointed to this single, critical point. The orange-haired mage, Irina, clenches her fist, her expression resolute. She knows the risks, but she also knows that Paul is a valuable asset, too important to lose. A sudden thought crosses her mind, a memory of a past encounter, and she wonders aloud, what if? The cloaked figure raises his hand, summoning a torrent of electric blue energy, a powerful spell ready to be unleashed as he declares his intent to find Paul. Simultaneously, Irina's own magical energy flares, a brilliant display of power, as she too resolves to locate the hunter, her determination unwavering. The cloaked figure stares at a shimmering holographic map, his expression grim as blue energy crackles around him. He can't believe it. His barrier, broken, and he wonders how any force could have managed such a feat. Meanwhile, in another location, Irina gasps, her eyes wide with alarm as a sudden shockwave ripples through the air. Back with the cloaked figure, an intense blue aura flares around him, his red eyes glowing with fierce determination as he prepares to move. Irina, too, is enveloped in a vibrant orange light, her form blurring as she channels her magic, ready to spring into action. She moves with incredible speed, a trail of orange energy in her wake, acknowledging the immense power of the individual she's pursuing. The cloaked figure also streaks through the air, leaving a blue afterimage, reflecting on the fact that this is the first time he's been struck by another user since becoming a duplicator. Suddenly, a vast horde of shadowy figures with glowing red eyes emerges from the darkness, filling a cavernous space with their menacing presence. The cloaked figure observes them, a realization dawning on him that these shadowy minions belong to Paul. Meanwhile, Irina gathers her power, a blinding light erupting around her, preparing a devastating magical assault. She unleashes a torrent of pink and purple energy, a vibrant magical aura flaring around her as she prepares a devastating attack. The cloaked figure reels back, aghast, wondering how the mage could have made his duplicates scatter so easily. With an unbelievable surge of power, Irina's magic disperses the shadowy copies, sending them flying in all directions. He stares, dumbfounded, at the appearance of a familiar, unable to comprehend how she, a non-summoner, could possibly manifest such a creature. A massive, monstrous shadow soldier with glowing red eyes looms into view, its form rippling with the lingering purple energy of Irina's attack. But the cloaked figure refuses to yield. He lunges, blade flashing, declaring that he won't let a red-hair Barbie ruin his plans, even if everything around him seems destined for destruction. If his copies are gone, he'll simply have to handle the threat himself. He slams his blade into the shadowy familiar, driving it back with a powerful strike. Irina's magic surges, a vibrant blue aura flaring around her as she challenges her opponent, Let's see how you handle this one. The cloaked figure, observing the newly manifested shadows, acknowledges their formidable nature. These are shadows to manage. Around them, the shadowy duplicates he had conjured begin to dissipate, torn apart by an unseen force. While he moves with a blur of speed, activating his own formidable abilities. Assassin skills. Irina, still channeling her power, watches the unfolding chaos, a confident smirk playing on her lips. I'll collect a fee for this, but I'll consider it a training exercise for the kids. Suddenly, a massive, shadowy familiar, its form wreathed in dark energy, lunges into the fray, tearing through the remaining shadow figures with brutal efficiency. Its attack impacting dangerously close to the cloaked figure, who recoils in surprise. You may have been able to get rid of my shadow clones. The familiar presses its assault, its shadowy claws striking with immense force. But the cloaked figure stands his ground, red eyes glowing with fierce resolve. But you can't defeat me. As the familiar unleashed its power, a wave of shock washed over Irina, her eyes widening in disbelief, while Jinwoo's expression tightened with a grim understanding. Then, with a blinding flash, a colossal explosion of fiery magic erupted, tearing through the air. The ground trembled with a deep rumble, as the inferno expanded, consuming everything in its path. Witnessing the sheer force, Jinwoo felt a profound unease, a sense that something was terribly wrong. Meanwhile, Irina's eyes glowed with a sudden realization. The power she had just unleashed felt almost like a familiar presence. The raw energy radiating from the blast was undeniable, an overwhelming force that felt like a quest in itself. His own eyes began to glow a fierce red, as he instinctively recognized the immense aura. The magical conflagration reached its terrifying peak, a maelstrom of light and heat. Then, just as quickly as it had erupted, the fiery energy began to recede, leaving behind a scarred landscape. The familiar's immense power had vanished, leaving behind a landscape utterly devastated. Footsteps echoed softly across the barren, sandy ground, the silence a stark contrast to the recent cataclysm. A group of figures surveyed the destruction, their expressions grim as one wondered aloud. Who in the world was the enemy? Irina, her orange hair framing a look of disbelief, could only murmur, "The everything is destroyed." Her thoughts echoed the question, her mind reeling from the sheer scale of the power she had just witnessed. Who in the world was the enemy? The bald listener, his gaze sharp, recalled the intelligence reports. I heard that they took on a high-rank mage, alone. The information says they did not receive support from different classes. Irina's eyes widened slightly, a new possibility dawning on her. So she can be someone with a hidden class. Her hand clenched into a fist, a fierce determination hardening her features. Who dares to touch our guild? The bald listener's expression remained stern, his resolve unwavering. We can't show weakness to others, being the strongest operating guild. Irina's face contorts with fierce resolve, her green eyes burning with an unyielding anger as she declares her intent to find the mysterious high-rank mage, vowing to destroy her and all her subordinates.